Nice different.
Pedigree, 1, 2, 3, Roger, you live as a champ. A last ride straight to hell, a tombstone, a choke slam. Here to give it to you raw. This is Wrestling with Savage. Smackdown, hold the title. This is Wrestling with Savage. What?
Wrestling with Savage begins now.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Savage. Tonight's going to be a special episode because we're going to be doing our first watch-along for Impact, but I got some bad news for you. Well, some good news and some bad news. The good news is we're doing a watch-along for Impact. The bad news is I'm not going to be here for the whole 2 hours. I might pop in and out, but tonight I'm very honored and happy to welcome Travis back to the show. He's been a new co-host here as of late, and Travis is going to try out his luck tonight with Impact Watch Along. So he's going to be here giving you all the action, and I want you guys to treat him just like you would treat me, with respect, with dignity, and with class, and make sure you have a good time. Ask him any questions. Ask him any comments you have. Whatever you have, give it to him. Travis is here for the people. He is here to bring you Impact. So, Travis, welcome to Wrestling with Savage again.
Thank you.
Are you
Thank
excited?
you for having me.
You excited? You ready to go?
I am. I think this is going to be good.
This is going to be good. I'm out of here. You kill it.
Thank you. All right. So right now we're getting the recap of what happened at Against All Odds. God, I couldn't think of the pay-per-view name, guys. Sorry. Bully Ray is kicking off Impact. He is coming out. He's looking, of course, like pissed because, you know, everyone, he's a heel, right? If he's a heel, he should look pissed. He should be like, I'm angry to even have to be here in front of you people explaining this. He's, you know, for as old as he is, Bully looks really good. It's always surprising to me how Bully looks. To me, he looks like a great heel, and he looks like one of the best wrestlers still to this day. Like, it's not just oh, you know, he was good back in the ECW days. He can still go. All right, he's about to start talking. Let's see what Bully's got to say. Do you know who I am? His famous catchphrase. Exactly who he is. He's Bully Ray. He is the most hated man in all of professional wrestling. And I think there might be some truth to that. There's people who are like, keep Bully Ray away from AEW. He's going to ruin AEW if he comes into it. I think he is. He says there's nobody better in the wrestling business, past, present, or future, who is better at putting people through tables than Bully Ray. He's put men through tables, women through tables. Old ladies through table. He's put owners of businesses through tables, and if there's anything left, he does not mind putting a child through a table, which is par for the course for Bully Ray. But when you really piss him off, when you really get under his skin, he lights the table on fire. And anyone who's watching, if you've got questions or want to talk about anything, or, you know, in the comments, let me know. let me know what your thoughts on Bully Ray are. Do you agree that he's a great heel and he's one of the most hated men, or do you think it's go home heat? Feel free to leave your opinions. It brought him great pleasure in setting Scott D'Amore on fire, which, I mean, with all the Team Canada and, backstory stuff you have to know, but, Bully and Scott have never gotten along on screen, so it makes sense that he would feel that way. He's making fun of Josh Alexander, saying he hurt his arm and he's not here. Oh, boo-hoo, I hurt my arm, which Alexander needed surgery, so it's not just a simple, hurt his arm. He's still standing. He's going to against all odds. The 8-4-1, he's going to win it. He'll go on a Slammiversary where Bully Ray becomes the 3-time Impact Wrestling World Champion. The lights have gone out, and now out comes Steve Maclin. Steve Maclin sporting a bandage over the, I want to say, left side of his face from where he was busted open during Against All Odds. He actually had to get 3 stitches from that. That was not a John Moxley, I took a razor, cut my own head open. No, that was actually a injury he sustained. But he still finished the match. I think a lot of people kind of discounted Maclin as, oh, he's just this guy. He's this wannabe tough guy. He really is actually, do some research on Steve Maclin. He's an actually really impressive dude. Under Siege was a hell of a night, and Maclin loved every second of it. He loves what he and Bully did to Scott D'Amore. For those of you who don't know, Against All Odds, as it was going off the air, what we saw was Bully Ray and Steve Maclin beat up Scott D'Amore and put him through a table, a flaming table. And it's supposedly going to be out for a while. Now, Bully and Maclin are having words because Maclin is saying that he allowed Bully Ray to do everything that he did. And Bully Ray says, you haven't allowed me to do anything. Nobody in this business has allowed me to do anything. I've done what I want. And whether you love me or you hate me, this is what his career has always been. But he is the champion. This is your place. He's right. I'm wrong. You allowed me. Maclin saying he thinks Bully's finally come to his senses. Acknowledged him as the world champion, but also raised my hand and showed every single person that I am the man around here. That's what the world saw. They're saying, the world is also saying, what if Bully Ray and Steve Maclin continue to do what they did on that night as a team? What if Maclin and Ray became a team instead of being enemies? But Bully, there is a but. I love that what if, but there is a but, because if you do go on at Against All Odds and you win that number 1 contendership and you do go to Slammiversary, I am more than happy to be your opponent. Maclin saying he's more than happy to be Bully Ray's opponent. And now out come the Motor City Machine Guns. Although I haven't seen them yet, so I don't know if it's both of them or if it's just... No, it's both. It's Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, who... Shelley, with an opportunity to win a championship he's never had the chance to hold, the Impact World Championship. If he can somehow win the match, the 8-4-1 match, he would get a chance to compete for the Impact World Championship, a title he's never held. Shelley's saying he's heard a lot of what if buts. He's not the championship, the number one contender of the championship. Shelley is. Another fact, you aren't walking out of against all odds world champion. Shelley is. Bully says, time out. Normally, I would take this opportunity to verbally bury Shelley or Sabin. Shred you to pieces on the microphone like nobody else can. Beat you down verbally with this stick right here, the microphone stick. But he can't. Because whether you like him or you hate him, you know that Bully Ray is one of the most honest people in the entire wrestling industry. That is what we refer to as a great professional wrestler. Hey, Mick Thomason, what's up? How are you doing tonight? Bully says that he is what other wrestlers aspire to be, but he knows that talent like Alex Shelley is what the boys in the back look up to. People want to be like Alex Shelley. He says he's never had the distinction of being one of the best wrestlers in the world, but he should be. He says the Motor City Machine Gun and Team 3D tore the houses down in Impact Wrestling. He says there's always been something special about Shelley, but the people who've been in charge have never understood how to use that correctly. I'm good, Mick. So let me ask you this, Mick. Would you agree that Bully Ray is one of the most hated men in professional wrestling today? Do you think that he is off his basis when he says that? Or do you think that that is true? Not only from an in-ring standpoint, but I know people were losing their minds when he said that he thought that Jon Moxley was overrated. And I'm just curious. Would you agree? Do you think he's a great heel? Or do you think he's just kind of, he's there? Bully says that Shelley will never win the world championship so long as Macklin is champion. And now Chris Sabin is saying he maybe Bully forgot, but he said the same stuff to him 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, Chris Sabin beat Bully Ray for that championship. And 1 month later, Bully won it back. Macklin wants Shelley to understand he's not overlooking him. Macklin thinks that Shelley is overlooking him. because he says he's going to go after the X Division title, and then you have nothing better to do than you're going to go after and try to win his Impact World title? He says it's a naive and arrogant comment after the 2 works that he put in, after the 2 years of proving every single person wrong that he have ever had to deal with becoming the champion. What makes Shelley think he can beat him? Shelley thinks he can beat Steve Maclin. I don't know if I would agree with that. I like Alex Shelley, but Steve Maclin's on a different level right now. But Maclin is agreeing. He is one of the best professional wrestlers in the world. Somehow we're getting a yep chant. He's reminding him that when he faced Josh Alexander, he lost. So what is against all odds, what makes him think it's going to be any different against Maclin? Shelley says, because quite frankly, Steven, you're not Josh Alexander. And that all the people know deep down, if Josh Alexander had not gotten hurt, Steve Maclin never would have been champion. Bully tried to get a little arrogant, and Shelley reminded him that when he went up against Josh Alexander whooped his butt too. He tapped out. You tapped out, Chance. Tonight, it looks like we're going to get Steve Maclin and Bully Ray versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Bully Ray agreeing they should fight, should first. He wants to do it. Let's do it. But not tonight. And now Subculture comes out, unfortunately. I got to be honest, Subculture is not doing it for me. It feels like it's just it feels like they're trying to do the cancel culture that they did with Rob Van Dam and all that again, but just not as good. But we've got I think Mandrews is part of. He says, if you're out here issuing challenges, these guys don't want to be a part of it. He wants to throw his name into the hat. The two of them would like to take on the Motor City Machine Guns against Subculture. The two of them, the Machine Guns, agree they're going to rescue Subculture tonight. They tell Bully Ray and Maclin to keep their eyes on them so they will know what they are getting into. and that Macklin particularly needs to watch Shelley, because Shelley is going to show him tonight how he's going to kick his ass at it's not against all odds. Sorry, they just said it. I lost it. And feel free in the comments section, anybody, you want to ask a question, feel free. It doesn't have to be Impact Wrestling related. Wrestling in general, just go for it. But up next, we've got Eddie Edwards versus Yuya Umara. You would think, being a huge fan of New Japan, I would pronounce these names better, but I don't. We go to a commercial break, so. So how's everyone doing tonight? Anyone got anything fun or exciting going on? Or, just a Thursday night watching Impact, watching Wrestling with Savage, and just enjoying their time? Favorite WrestleMania? That's a good question. Are we going to go with ones like I've watched over time period, like even online? Or are we going to go with ones that I've watched, like this is, within my time period? I'm fine with either. I just need to know what the qualifications are. And also, Mick, so since we're on the same topic, while you're typing that out or whatever, you can tell me, I'm curious, what's your favorite WrestleMania? Okay, my favorite moment I watched. Okay, so for me personally, I'm going to say Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. I think that was WrestleMania 25? The first time they faced each other. That match, that whole card was good. But that match in particular, to me, will go down as one of the greatest wrestling matches of any era, any time. You had two of the absolute best doing it at a time where they were still in their prime. Yes, HBK was kind of hurt. Yes, he was on his way out the door. But they put on an absolutely phenomenal match that I feel personally was even better than his retirement match. The Yes Movement. That was a really good moment. I may get some hate here. I've never been just a huge Daniel Bryan fan, but I did particularly love that moment because I felt like that was the massive payoff to that storyline that we had been waiting for. I didn't want to see it be, okay, at the end of WrestleMania. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say this straight up. I'm not saying they were right or wrong, but the fact that they did not take the title off of Roman at WrestleMania to Cody, I feel like if you weren't going to pull the trigger then, I don't know that they're ever going to pull the trigger on Cody. I'd like to believe that maybe this next year at WrestleMania, once Roman has surpassed the record they're trying to break. But I just don't know. I feel like that was the absolute best moment to put the title on Cody, and they didn't do it. So now we're back from break, and we get a promo for Nick Aldis from who Jimmy Jacobs is having the promo, which, first of all, I love Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy Jacobs, in my opinion, is vastly underappreciated. Jimmy says that against all odds, Nick Aldis was the better man. He beat Kenny King fair and square. And Nick Aldis says, after Under Siege, that momentum is there, and he's feeling like a dangerous man. He wants to take a moment to acknowledge Kenny King. He's a great athlete, credit to the sport, took him to the limit. He showed him things that he'd never seen before, and he would dare say that that's not the last time that the two of them will go one-on-one. He thinks that when they face each other again, he'll have more tricks and raise his game, which means he raises his game. And that's what it's all about here at Impact. A rising tide that will lift all ships. Just 8 days against all odds, he will be competing in the 8-4-1 match, which I'm still not entirely sure I understand what all the rules are to the 8-4-1 match. I guess it's going to be their equivalency of the Six Packs Challenge, but okay, so the way it's going to start out is it's 8 men, it will go down to 4 men, and then it will go down to one-on-one. So you're going to have to form alliances and pick things, and this is who we want to go after, and we need to get him out because he's the biggest threat. So I actually like this idea better. I think this is really cool. It's gonna cause a lot of alliances to be made, and then even before the end of this match, you're gonna see those same alliances get broken. And unlike in a triple threat where they could work together or they might not, like in this one, they're going to have to, because it's going to be 8 men, 4 and 4. The 2 that get eliminated from one team are going to then face off in the 4 versus then it's going to be one-on-one. So I think it's a interesting concept. It's maybe a little confusing because it's never really been done before, but I think it's a good idea. So now we're going to have Eddie Edwards versus Yuya Uemura. And he's, of course, accompanied by his wife, Alicia. Unfortunately, I actually was not born until, 1990. So by the time I was old enough to start watching wrestling, I did not have WCW was gone. Now I've gone back and watched a lot of their pay-per-views. I think Starrcade was some of their best stuff. But I didn't get to watch it the first time around. Too young. Out comes Yuya Uemura, who I like Yuya Uemura. That's a tongue twister. I think he's incredibly good in the ring. I don't think he's quite a Konosuke Takeshita. He's not there yet. I think that he in time could be, but at the moment he's not on that same level. But if he continues to impress me in the ring like he has been, same like with Konosuke Takeshita, I think that Yuya Uemura could easily be someone who, in, let's say, 4 or 5 years' time, we'll see him on AEW having matches with Takeshita. Later tonight, we will have Decay versus Sami Callihan and Jake Crist. We will have Danny Luna versus Jody Threat. Savannah Evans versus Trinity, formerly known as Naomi in WWE. they want to remind us that Kazarian and Edwards are having major issues with each other. Eddie thinks that he's the locker room leader, and Kazarian thinks that he's the locker room leader. Kazarian thinks that because he's more experienced than Eddie. Eddie thinks it because he's had more big profile matches than Kazarian. So they're really trying to drive home this whole, it's the young and up and coming talent versus the veteran, which is funny because Eddie Edwards is a veteran too. He's just maybe not as much so as Kazarian, but Eddie's been doing this for a while. They talk about how for a long time, Eddie was considered the heart and soul of Impact, but he's had a change of heart. I understand why it fell apart, but I still think that Honor No More is one of, if not the most disappointing things for me in Impact Wrestling. And Impact Wrestling has a really bad habit of having great factions that break apart too soon or not enough done with. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. We've seen it with Honor No More, Aces and Eights, DCC. I couldn't remember the name of James Storm Hill group that he did with Eddie Kingston and Graham. That was a great group, and Impact Wrestling just decided, hey, you know what, we're tired of James Storm as a heel. It's not really working, so let's have him turn face and just do away with this whole DCC thing. And to me, that was very disappointing. I felt like there was a lot more mileage they could have gotten out of that than just randomly turning Storm face again. But, at the end of the day, I'm not the one in charge of making these decisions. Because if I was, the very first thing I would have told Impact Wrestling is don't let Matt Taven go. Matt Taven is a star, and we saw in Ring of Honor, he was a great world champion in my opinion. And I always am disappointed with some of the decisions Impact makes, because I think they could be a legitimate threat to AEW or WWE, but they would have to stop making these decisions where they build someone up and then that person goes, yeah, I don't really like the direction you're going to take my feud. So, okay, I'll stay here through this and then I'm out of here. And it's crazy. I saw No, I didn't. I have not watched. I have gone back and watched the Monday Night Monday Night War, and I have gone back and watched a lot of WCW stuff. But I didn't get to watch it when it first came on because, again, I was too young. Until I was, I want to say, in my 15s, I didn't even know what wrestling was. But as soon as I found out what it was, I was like, this is phenomenal stuff. This is almost like you take the storyline of a Days of Our Lives and you combine it with the sport aspect of like a football. And I just remember sitting there thinking, like, this is the best of both worlds. How can anyone not like this? And yes, I get there are some people out there who go, well, it's scripted and they've already decided who the winners are going to be. But okay. That doesn't make these guys any less athletic. That doesn't make them any less impressive. And I feel like going, oh, it's scripted, like that somehow cheapens their impressiveness, their athleticism. And it doesn't. It doesn't mean that, because I remember reading an article, it's a commercial break, is why I'm going on this little bit of a rant. I remember when Moose first came into Impact Wrestling, and people were like, oh, well, it's it's staged and it's scripted, and how from going to football to this. And he said, let me tell you this. He goes, doing wrestling is harder than any football match I ever had. He goes, because I have to be precise. I have to know exactly where I'm supposed to be, where my opponent's supposed to be, how to do this, how to carry this, how to lift this person that way. Because if I don't and I mess up, I could cripple someone for life. He said, now, yes, that could happen in football too, but normally it's not as much. I like that. What is your favorite Days of Our Lives? Actually, I've never watched Days of Our Lives. I watched General Hospital because me and my mother would watch it together. But it was the only soap opera I ever watched. I don't know. Something about soap operas, they were just, they were during the day when you were a kid, so you didn't watch them. And then you get to watch them as an adult, and you're like, why don't I understand this? And it's like, oh, because I've missed 15 storylines before now. Okay. It would be like if you came into the middle of when Kenny Omega was saying he was the belt collector and he'd won all these titles, but it's like, wait a minute. When I last saw Kenny Omega, he was, in New Japan Pro Wrestling. What's happened? It's like, well, there's a lot that's happened between those two things. So, Mick, let me ask you this. I got a question for you. Little back and forth between the audience. In your opinion, who do you think is the best high flyer today? Like, still doing it today? And do you think Will Ospreay has to be in that consideration? Do you think that Will Ospreay has become someone on par with a Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, or do you think that he's not there yet? We're back to Impact. Eddie Edwards is in charge. He's taking control of Yuya Uemura. He took control during the commercial break, but of course they're not showing us how he... Oh, wait, yes they are. Yuya was chopping Eddie, and Alicia grabbed Yuya's foot, and then Eddie hit him with, I don't even know what to call that. That was like some sort of, he grabbed him, flipped him, and slammed him down. That was impressive. I'm always impressed by Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards, I think, is... I think people discount Edwards because he's a smaller guy. But the reality is, man, he's just so good in the ring. They're talking about how the 6-man tag matchup before Under Siege, the two, Eddie and Kazarian, were brawling back and forth during Under Siege. They're really wanting to highlight that Eddie and Kazarian are having their issues. Eddie Edwards just pounding on Yuya. Really taking his time, trying to milk that I'm a heel, I'm going to take my time, punch to the forehead with a closed fist, the typical heel stuff. Okay, favorite high flyer, Rey Mysterio. I think that's a fair statement. I think Rey Mysterio is probably the greatest of all time. I think that it's obvious that the kids who are now coming up and are doing this, the Kingo, El Hijo, what is he called now? He's not El Hijo del Fantasma anymore. He's Santos Escobar, Will Ospreay. All these people credit Rey Mysterio as being the guy who got them into this. So I think there's no question Rey goes down as the greatest of all time. If nothing else, just because of his impact on, without them. It's not the same without them. Where are we? Yeah, we're at an Edwards versus Uemura. This has actually been a pretty good match so far. I like that they're taking the time. Ooh, Yuya Uemura with a beautiful back suplex. Actually, that may be one of the best back suplexes I've seen in a while. And the reason why being that he lifted him up, he slammed him down to where it looked like it was doing damage, but you could tell that Eddie's head was protected. He wasn't going to be concussed or anything. And, Savage said I could talk about it on here. He said, you can do Impact and you can do AEW. You got to ask, chat, Mick, anyone, if you watched AEW, did anyone else get scared with Saraya taking all those bumps thinking, oh my God, this is a woman who's had to have neck surgery and you're having her get dumped on her head this much? I was shocked and I was worried that it was going to happen. And when it didn't, I became shocked that she hadn't suffered a concussion. I thought that was insane, the amount of bumps they were having her take, when it's like you could have easily had Britt taking just as many. Eddie up top. He's going for something big here. What is it? Is it a super? He's going for a superplex. And he hits it. Superplex. Yuga's really good at selling, too. Like, he makes it look like that move really hurt. Which, I'm sure it did. You can't take a superplex and it not hurt. But he made it look like he'd, landed on a thing of thumbtacks or something. Oh, Yuya got it. The resilience of Umura and strength. He lifted him up and slammed him down. Yuya's going up top. And he's going to hit him. Is he going to hit him? Oh! Edwards kicked him right to the ribs. That looked a little bit lower than the ribs to me, but Tiger Driver, shoulders down, 1, 2. Yuya kicks out. Edwards setting up for the Boston Knee Party. Boston Knee Party connects. 1, 2, 3. Eddie Edwards, your winner. Love Eddie Edwards. Great wrestler. Wish he'd get rid of that stupid mohawk, but, whatever. Every time I see that Eddie Edwards, beaten mohawk, I'm just like, I'm like, are Eddie and Lance Archer related and just nobody told me? Let's see, are they continuing the beatdown after the match, or is Eddie gonna? Oh, no, Eddie is giving applause to Yuya Umura, trying to show that he is a locker room leader. Always funny when you get these matches that are based on things like, who's the locker room leader to me? Because it's like, who cares? Go out there, compete, have a good match. Lead by that. Eddie looks like he's going to shake Yuya's hand and then pulls it away. DTE, don't trust Eddie. Oh, Ray Walt, that was bad. Kazarian is now coming out. Kazarian finds it hilarious that he wants to let everyone in the back know they're a locker room leader, but yet he wants respect, yet he refuses to return that same respect to a young lion like Yuya that just took him to the limits. Mick, what do you think? I enjoy having the audience interaction as well. What do you think? You think that for Kazarian should have been a world heavyweight champion by now? My opinion is yes. I feel like not making him world heavyweight champion was a huge mistake, but sound off. Let me know what you think or what anyone thinks. Kazarian accidentally hits Alicia Edwards because, she tried to jump on him and get the advantage, which of course, they're going to make it out as like, oh, Edward, they're going to make, of course, Eddie's going to try and go, now it's personal because you attacked my wife. And he's going to be like, hey, dude, she jumped me. And commercial break. I'm going to be nice and show this tonight.
Wrestling!
Oh my God.
Well, Savage! There goes Savage, and there you go, buddy. Wrestling with Savage.
So, Mick's been here. Mick's been a good guy, so. The first WWF in your house. When would that have been? Let's look that up. Does anyone else love that? Like, when was the first WWF in your house? And it's like, I don't remember. And then it's like, oh, look, I've got everything I could ever want to know right here on my phone. No, I was not there. The first WWF in your house was May 14th, 1995. So I would have been 5 years old. So I would not have been watching wrestling yet. And it's hard, when you've got family. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. They're family. You love them till you die. That's how it works. But my family always thought that professional wrestling was, I don't want to say stupid, but they thought that it's like, it's rigged. It's not even, I don't want to say fake, scripted. They know the difference between scripted and fake, but they always thought like, oh, come on, seriously, you're having a feud because Edge stole this guy's girlfriend? Come on, that's ridiculous. Which, of course, that one feud happened to actually be accurate. That really was what caused the feud. But they always thought it was like, oh, you're having a match over something as stupid as this guy parked in your parking space. Like, come on, that's stupid. And I was like, I never saw it that way. I saw it. I looked at it and was like, is it stupid when George Clooney plays an assassin? It's like, it's acting. It's their job. Like, their job is to act however the feud says it needs to, and then respond accordingly. So I just never bought into people who acted that way. I never bought into people who were like, somehow being a wrestler somehow made them less of an athlete or less impressive than because football isn't scripted. No, I don't buy that. But no, I'll tell you this. I remember the very first wrestling match, very first I ever saw. And I can't even remember now what the feud was and why it was this, but I remember it was Undertaker and Big Show in a steel cage match. And I remember it being such a big match and making such an impact on me because Big Show climbed the fence and he climbed the cage and he was up top, and Undertaker grabbed him by the throat and from the top of the cage choke slammed him. And I remember thinking, for everyone out there who goes, oh, well, wrestling is just, it's silliness. It's like, you get dropped from that high up, trust me, you ain't gonna be laughing. That hurts no matter how big you are. So now up is Decay versus... I just said this earlier. Why do I not remember this? It was Decay versus... Which, can I also give credit where credit's due to Decay? Decay to me is how you do a creepy faction, or let's just say dark. Maybe not creepy, dark faction correctly. Like, they're dark, they're creepy, they're a little bit weird, but they're not like full-blown. I get maybe he's drawn on his past, but and sound off. Mick, anyone else, sound off. Does anyone else get this, like, House of Black is supposed to be like a cult kind of faction? Like, to me, they always come across as a cult, and I'm like, it just seems weird. Like, oh, that's right. It's Sami Callihan and Jake Crist they're facing. OVE is back. Sami is also another wrestler I really like. I first found out about Sami by watching Lucha Underground, where he was Jeremiah Crane, and I thought that was a really good character. It kind of reminded me of Raven in ways, which for those of you who don't know, because I'm sure Savage already does know, Raven is in my top 5 wrestlers of all time. The dude had the best DDT in the business. He could go on the mic. He could go in the ring. Him and Tommy Dreamer's feud, I think, is what made ECW. If you don't have Raven and Dreamer, I don't know that ECW... I mean, it would still be big, but I don't know if it would be anywhere near as big as it is. The original one I talked about, which one was that? I forgot, I'm sorry. Yeah. Mike. Thomason. I'm going to say that. I nearly called you Tomasa, and I was like, no, wait, you're not Ciampa. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I forgot. What are we talking about? You said you liked that original one. That was cool. I like when Tarus will throw Steve over the top rope. I think that they make that look really good. They make it look like, oh my gosh, Steve was like just flying through the air. Okay, Jake Crist counter does double super kick. Now there's then Callahan and Chris do a super kick together. They now have, man, I don't even know what to call that. They had crazy. They're having a chicken fight in the middle of the ring. They're having a chicken fight. I love it. So I'm not sure what they're calling that move, but it was an assisted bulldog. For lack of a better word, OVE gets the victory, and behind them is Big Connor. Big Con double choke slam to both Callahan and Crist, and now Sammy's getting a kick from, wow, I'm impressed. That from Cody Deaner, that looked surprisingly close to a black mass, and I like that. And now Cody Deaner's got friggin' Diener had Jake Christ hit him with the antidote, which is kind of almost like a swinging DDT. It's actually pretty good looking. It reminds me of the even flow DDT in some ways. Out comes Rich Swann for the save. And the design feels like they've already done their damage, so they're backing up. Damage has been done by the design. Ray Walt says, I asked before this match got underway, what would the fallout be from Under Siege? Diener and the design are far from finished with the team of Sami Callihan and Rich Swann and Jake Christ. Up next is going to be Savannah Evans versus Trinity. And while it's a commercial break, I'll ask anyone who's on here, including Nick or anyone else, what do you think? Let me ask it this way. What is the biggest thing that Impact has going for it right now? And what is the biggest thing Impact has going against it right now? Commercial breaks. Nothing big going on. Yeah, I think this show's pretty good so far. Thus far, I mean, I'll have to see what they do with the main event, but thus far, I give it a solid B plus. That and the sad thing is, to me, that is Impact. That is Impact to me. It is a B plus since it became Impact and not TNA Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. I don't know that I would ever put it above a B plus, which is not bad. It's just I miss the days where we had great feuds. Like I'm going to mention two of my favorite feuds right now: Raven versus Jeff Jarrett, and Christian Cage versus AJ Styles. To me, those were two incredibly good feuds, and I just feel like we haven't had that level of feud in a while. The closest we got, to me, was... It felt like the whole, when Eric Young came back and, supposedly was going to try and end the career of Rich Swann. I thought that was a good one. I thought that was a good feud. I felt like that was pretty well done. But I don't know, man. Impact is just one of those companies. I love Impact Wrestling. I do. I started with TNA. I think the first match I ever watched with them was Christian Cage versus AJ Styles for the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Great match. I've stuck with them ever since. But Impact has a problem, in my opinion, with pulling the trigger on something and sticking to it. You made James Storm a heel. James Storm, I think, has switched between face and heel while in Impact almost as many times as Big Show has switched between face and heel. This week he's a face, then the next week he's a heel. Then he's a heel, then he's a face. It's like they need to get it down. Like, if this is a heel, like, here's the next program for the next, month and a half. Not just, hey, we're flying by the seat of our pants. What about you, Mick? What's your favorite Impact moment, or TNA moment, or Or give me one TNA and one Impact. Give me what's your favorite moment? We're back. Rich Swann and Callahan arguing. He thinks that Swann took too long to get out there. Swann is saying he's already busy, so he won't be able to help at all against all odds. He's in the 8-for-1 match. So he can't help them. They're going to have to find somebody else. He says the doctor is going to call the monster. So I'm thinking one of two things. That's either going to be Abyss, who I don't think it will be because I think he's busy working as a something to do with backstage writing creative at WWE, or I could see it being PCO. I think PCO could be a good addition to this to fight that. So now we've got Trinity versus Savannah Evans, which I don't dislike Trinity. It's just I don't know how many people know her as anything other than Naomi / Jay's wife. Yes, huge Beer Money fan. I think Beer Money was the best, arguably the best Impact Wrestling team. I think Beer Money had a lot of great matches, had a lot of great segments. I think that I think they may be one of the very first tag teams where the two guys split up and both had phenomenal careers. Both of them had great careers. So we now have Savannah Evans, Trinity. I don't even. Yes, that was a good moment. That was funny to me. I'm a big Toby Keith fan. He was like the last real country singer that I really enjoyed. Of course, I love the ones before, Johnny Cash, Garth Brooks, whatever. But I remember they had Toby Keith there, and when he did that to Jeff Jarrett, I remember that absolutely just made me smile. Grinning from ear to ear like I am right now, just thinking about it. That, and of course, Steiner Math. But everyone loves Steiner Math. I still use Steiner Math to this day. Every time I go to the grocery store and something's overpriced, I'm like, those cost a 33 1/3 more than they should. And I'm only paying a 66 1/3 of what you're asking me to. And the funny thing is, you'd be surprised how many times I'll check out, do that, and I actually get a laugh and a giggle, and someone will be like, oh, Steiner Math. It's like, I think more people know it than... But... Savannah taking advantage, using her power, trying to, she sends Trinity, she sets her up in the turnbuckle, now she's going for something. Trinity moves out of the way, hits her with a flying, jumping, leaping forearm. Ooh, nice back elbow. I wouldn't have ever thought Trinity I would not have thought of Trinity as a brawler, but she's pretty good at this. She's unleashing a flurry of kicks. Tries to outpower Savannah Evans, does not work. Ducks under a clothesline. Kicks her right in the gut. Another kick. Oh, massive pop-up powerbomb from Savannah Evans, which that's the first time I've seen her pull that out, and that was impressive. Not often you see a young woman pulling off Ooh, sorry. Not often you see a young woman pulling off a pop-up powerbomb, and that well, no less. Now she's using the ropes for leverage as she stomps down on her. So, Mick, did you ever answer my question? What do you think is what is the best thing Impact has going for it right now, and what is the thing that they need to stop doing? Evans doing shoulder tackles in the corner. Sorry. I have to stretch every now and then or my legs start cramping. Ooh, kick right to the jaw while she's hung up in the ropes. Trinity kicked Savannah in the jaw while Savannah's tied up in the ropes. And now she's hit some sort of like Willow's bell almost. Like that was very reminiscent of the Willow's bell that Tommaso Ciampa used to do. I like this. I like that she's almost kind of incorporating like some WWE moves into her moveset. So, you know, people will remember who she is, but not so much so that they're like, oh, this is, you know, Naomi and this is all we're going to see her as. She just did a beautiful jumping. I mean, I don't even know what to call it other than that was a disaster kick and it was beautiful. Trinity up top. I can't tell. That didn't look like she got most of that. It looked like Savannah was supposed to grab her on the way down, but didn't. But now she picks her up, side slam, sorry. Oh, no, sidewalk slam, slide Sam. It's whatever you want to call it. Trinity counters, kicks her in the head with a knee. Now does a assisted. Oh, and there she locked in Starstruck, her submission, and Savannah Evans taps out. So Trinity, your winner. So Trinity defeats Savannah Evans, who is now using, as part of her gimmick, she is the Cannibal Savannah Evans. Not exactly the best ring name. I mean, I guess it's okay, but I don't know. So Trinity's going to take the microphone and speak now. The crowd is chanting Trinity. She seems to be liking it. She said that she will be waiting on the other side for whoever walked out of Under Siege as the champion. So she wants to take on Deonna Purrazzo. So out comes Deonna Purrazzo, who, again, another really good female wrestler. Here's the weird thing, and sound off comments. Let me know what you think. I actually think that of all the women's champions in professional wrestling right now, Deonna is the one that is most credible as a threat for me, personally. Like when Deonna slaps on those submissions, they look like they hurt. They don't look like, oh, well, you know, there's, yeah, okay. After Under Siege, Deonna is still the virtuoso, and she is still the Impact Women's world heavyweight champion. When you're the champion, everybody wants something from you. She says, so please, I'm sure if you have a question, there's something you want, so indulge her. You don't have sound, Savage. So it'll be Trinity and Deonna Purrazzo.
Now I have sound. I'm sorry. I was just trying to say you're doing a great job, man. You're killing it tonight.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was just saying, I love Deonna Purrazzo. I think of all the women's champions out there, she's the most credible. She looks like when she locks in, any of her submissions, it looks like it hurts.
She's definitely someone who could be on the main roster of WWE, someone who could be on the main roster of AEW, any company in the world. She's one that I actually have been impressed with.
I think she could easily go back to WWE and become a world champion.
100%. I made a little thing for you here so it could look more official. Impact Wrestling Live Watch Along. Hopefully you like it.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
All right. We got to try to get some more people. I'm going to try to get you a crew for Thursday nights, man.
All right. Sounds good to me, brother.
If you have any friends that like doing this kind of stuff too, you're more than welcome to try to recruit somebody.
No. Unfortunately, in my group of friends, I am the only person who does like wrestling.
Copy that. So we're going to have to venture out and look for some people, see if we can get you an Impact team for Thursday nights.
I might be able to see in my Discord channel. We've got some people who are in it that are big wrestling fans, so I might be able to.
How's Mick treating you?
Good. I've enjoyed talking with Mick. I did just ask him. I had asked him. I said, "What's your favorite TNA/Impact moment?" And I asked him. I guess he didn't see it, or maybe he hasn't answered yet. And we could ask you, Savage, as well.
My favorite Impact TNA moment is between Jay Lethal and Ric Flair, and the classic woo off. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
I think my favorite moment was. I'm going to say one of two because they're both important to me. Everyone loves Steiner Math. You just can't help but love it.
Okay, that's up there. Yeah.
And then for me personally, because I've always been a huge fan of him, I really enjoyed Raven's debut. I thought that was handled very well. I mean... No,
that was good. That was good. I mean, I don't remember everything about Impact, but from what I do remember, definitely the Ric Flair, Jay Lethal stuff was all
it was really money. Good. So let me ask you this. The question he answered that one. The question I was saying he hasn't answered is, in your opinion, right now, what do you think is the biggest thing Impact has going for it, and what's the biggest thing holding it back?
The biggest thing it has going for it is probably its consistent fan base. They have the same, let's say, 100,000 fans that love it and they watch it no matter what. So that's probably the biggest thing they have going for them. The thing that's holding them back is wrestlers that are beyond their prime still being involved heavily in creative, being involved on screen.
Such as?
I'm not going to drop too many names, but you can kind of figure it out, man. Corny, I'll say this. What's holding them back is corny storytelling.
Okay.
Some stories are just corny. They're not believable. Like, for example, Tommy Dreamer, Bully Ray, their whole heat, and then they're on Busted Open the next morning talking wrestling, being friends. To me, that's bullshit. I don't like it, not a fan of it, and I think it's bullshit because there's other guys on the roster that deserve the screen time.
I know everyone thinks it's gone, and stuff like that certainly doesn't help, but I'm like, in that what you're talking about, like Tommy Dreamer, Bully Ray are supposed to be having this huge feud, so kayfabe says that they would not be on the same show together. Like, when you see the two of them, it's just distracting. Thank you, Mick. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the problem. We see them on Busted Open. They're hanging out. They're talking wrestling. They're talking Rocky. They're talking movies. And then later in the night, Bully Ray's bullying him with a coffee in his face.
Right.
It's shit like that.
It's like if you saw Savage and Dave LaGreca eating dinner together. You'd be like, now, wait a minute. Savage and Dave LaGreca are supposed to hate each other.
That's right. It's a big problem. It's a big no-no in this business. But see, the thing is, it goes back to what I said about their 100,000 fans. the loyal fans, it doesn't seem to matter what the story is. It doesn't seem to matter if I think it's shit or boring. Those loyal fans, they eat this shit up. For whatever reason, they're loyal. They love it. They support it. And that's why this continues to happen on. And I feel like what's holding them back is their ability to not try new things that could maybe potentially bring in new people.
Yeah, I remember when TNA started, that was their big thing, was they were willing to try new things. They were willing to try. I mean, at that point in time, and I remember thinking this when it happened, I remember thinking like, nobody at that point, AJ Styles, who is now regarded as one of the absolute best of any time period, he was in WWE and they said, okay, you're never really going to be anything big. He goes to
Vince
Impact.
didn't even know who he was all the way up until the Royal Rumble, man. Yeah. He comes into the Royal Rumble. He gets a huge pop. Vince legitimately thought that pop was a fluke. He's like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why these people are cheering him. Maybe they like his name.
I'm going to get those crowd noises under control.
Maybe they like his music. I don't know, but that was a fluke. It will never happen again. Meanwhile, they don't realize that the wrestling fans are more educated than Vince will ever give them credit for.
Oh, yeah.
And that they know, not only do they know who AJ Styles is, but they respect him and love him without him setting foot in WWE even once.
And there's so many moments that I feel like if Vince understood that the fans are not as stupid as he thinks they are, we could have had great moments. I'm not saying that it was a terrible moment, but the one that always sticks out to me is the Authority. When it was, it's me, Austin, it was me all along. That was supposed to be Christopher Daniels. Yeah. And Vince went, Christopher Daniels, he's not believable. He's too small. And I'm like, man, can you imagine how awesome the world would have been if we had Christopher Daniels and Undertaker as part of the
Listen, not everything's always going to work. Not everything's always going to go to plan. I mean, look what happened in WCW. They had Goldust, the natural one, come back after his Goldust run, and they make him 7. They make him put on white makeup and to come out like this bootleg version of the Undertaker that's just terrible.
Well, and maybe I misunderstood, but the thing with him always standing outside that kid's window, I was like, are they saying 7 is a child molester? This is not going well.
I don't even know. I don't want to know what that was. It was bad.
Then it got worse. It got worse. Let's throw Impact under the bus here a little bit. As bad as 7 was, at least it wasn't Black Rain.
I've seen some bad shit on Impact. Listen, the reason I'm always sour on Impact and TNA over the years is because I grew up loving certain wrestlers and having a certain image of them. And then going back and watching them on Impact many, many, many years later, many moons after their prime, I don't want to take away from the character that I have in my head. For example, the Hulk Hogan's of the world, the Kurt Angle. Although Kurt Angle, in my opinion, I thought Kurt Angle has been Impact's or TNA's most phenomenal overall athlete that they ever had. Because he went to hell and back with Samoa Joe, with AJ Styles. I mean, I can name a bunch of guys. But like with a Hogan, it really hurt me to see Hogan on Impact. Because that's not how I want to remember him. His finest stories are not on Impact. I wasn't a fan of anything that he really did on Impact. Then bringing Sting, Jeff Hardy coming in wasted, not even being able to have a match with Sting. So I always looked at Impact as like the D show. It's the show that you go to when you're no longer getting hired by the big companies for whatever reason. Maybe you're past your prime, or maybe they didn't want to give you what you wanted. I think
it's one of two things. You're either going here. So by the way, so that those who are watching know, right now we're having Luna Dane versus Jody Threat, and I don't know who either one of these people are. So it's going to highlight my point that I'm making. I feel like Impact is either where you go when you're at the end of the career or at the start. You never see somebody go there when they're...
Another thing that drives me nuts about Impact is they do have a hell of a roster, but then they don't do anything with these guys. Like, for example, Speedball Mike Bailey is probably the most talented guy they have on the roster, pound for pound. Mm-hmm. Incredible performer in the ring, outside the ring. Maybe doesn't have the greatest mic skills, but his character doesn't really need to have mic skills. You can give him a mouthpiece. He's ready to be a world champion. Why they haven't pulled the trigger on a Mike Bailey to be a world champion yet? Don't understand.
Well,
Has he even had a world championship opportunity?
no, I don't think so. I think he competed in a match where had he won, he would have been number one contender, but I think he ended up losing that one.
No offense to Josh Alexander or the current champion right now or any of the champions they've had over the past 3 years, but you can't sit there and tell me a guy like Speedball Mike Bailey isn't as good or better than any of the champions they've had in the past 5 years.
And you talk about them wasting people. If I could go back and tell current Impact one thing, I would have told them, guys, do not let Matt Taven go. Matt Taven is a star. He is great in the ring. He's a wonderful person outside of the ring. He is... The problem was, as soon as they came in, and this is another thing that Impact does wrong, in my opinion, is as soon as someone gets in, it's... let's hit the reunion tour. You know,
they do a lot of like the reminiscing and going back to storylines of years past instead of like creating something new. Like they got something special with Joe Hendry. They got something special with Mike Speedball Bailey. They had their thing with Josh Alexander. Obviously, he's hurt. He's coming back. Yeah. They relied too much on past storylines and past superstars to just create content. Like, just to create the content instead of taking a chance on a new story, on a new thing. The one thing they've done right over the last 20 years, I'll give it to them. Motor City Machine Guns, they've handled correctly.
Yes.
I'll give them that. Those guys are tremendous, and it's a damn shame that they're not on, a bigger stage.
You had Mr. Anderson on here one night. I remember that.
That's and right. That was a great night.
At the time, I remember thinking, like, man, if there's one, I would have asked him, had I been able to like talk like this, I would have asked him, is there any one part of your career that you wish would have gone differently? And I don't know that he would say this, but in my head, I'm thinking of Ken Anderson's career, and I'm thinking, man, Aces and Eights had so much potential, and they rushed that.
I think that's you as an Impact fan saying that. As me as a wrestling enthusiast, I would have to say, if I had to guess, I think Ken Anderson would obviously say what happened with his WWE tenure and the way that he was right about to have his push. He was going to be the guy with the briefcase, and then the doctor misdiagnosed the injury, and they thought he was going to be off the shelf for like 6 months as opposed to only 1 month. I guarantee you he would say that. Because
since you mentioned that, that's an interesting thing to me, because I would say what holds WWE back the most for me right now is I'm just gonna, God forbid, knock on wood so this doesn't happen, but let's just say Braun Breaker gets injured, right? So he rehabs, he works hard, he gets back. He should not then be going into a feud with someone like Massey. He should be pushed. He should be rewarded for going, I got injured and I'm still coming back.
Yeah.
Vince has always been
kind of like what happened with AJ Styles. He came back from, and automatically gets a world title shot with Seth Rollins. Yeah. Doesn't win it, but
I'll never forget this. I never understood. Finn Balor comes back and they literally make him almost a jobber.
But let me give you an idea to show you the difference between a WWE and an Impact. At times during the years, every year WWE has their stale moments, their stale months where it's hard TV to watch. Storylines are like at a dead end. It usually happens after WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Around SummerSlam to Survivor Series, things just kind of die down, and then everything picks up steam again at Royal Rumble. And then other times throughout the years, there's years that are just shit, right? But yet somehow, no matter how shitty it gets, guess what happens? They still get more fans. They get more viewers. And more importantly than anything else, they make more money.
Yeah, and then more
physical year to year to year to year, WWE is murdering it right now compared to 10 years ago. You can't say the same for Impact.
No.
So that's the difference between Impact and WWE. WWE can shit the bed again and again and again and again and again, and make up for it with. They can make up for it with one good storyline, and it makes everything else disappear.
I swear to you, though, if we get a match 4 on Cody and Lesnar, I'm out. I'm done. I don't care.
We are going to get a Cody Lesnar match. It's happening. And this time he's going to put him in a wheelchair.
Match 3 I'm okay with. I don't want a match 4.
Well, match 4 is probably going to be, maybe a funeral match.
Yeah.
Match 3, he's going to put Cody in a wheelchair. And then match 4, maybe you just put him in a casket. Yeah. I think the best thing that could happen to Cody Rhodes right now is if he disappears for like 4 months.
So I asked you this earlier. I said, do you think, this was via email, do you think Raven had the best DDT in the business? And before you answer,
okay.
Before you answer, let me tell you this. Jake Roberts said he thinks that Raven had the best DDT.
That's because he's being humble. Jake the Snake Roberts had the best DDT in the history of the business because the way he would hit it, psychology-wise, timing-wise, and just his size. People don't realize this. Jake the Snake is a big dude. He was 6'4", strong as hell, big man. And he would drop you on your head and make it look like he dropped you on your head. Not saying Raven couldn't do it, but it's hard for me to say somebody else is doing it better when somebody else was doing it just as good before.
Right. It's like when people would tell me, well, the best Joker was Heath Ledger. And I'd be like, well, I don't know, man. You have to have Cesar Romero in that.
Yeah, that's true. For me, the best was Jack Nicholson, but they're all arguable. They all have fine.
I mean, Mark Hamill was the best Joker, but he's only the voice.
Nah, that's the voice. We're talking about on-screen Joker in a big-time movie type of deal. For me, it was Jack Nicholson. But again, that's just my opinion. Heath Ledger stole the show. When I was first watching the Heath Ledger's Joker, at that moment in time, I'm like, this might be the best Joker. But then collectively, you watch it again and again. Just like the wrestling moves. I hear all the time. Who's got the best power driver? Who's got the best figure 4? It's really hard to say who's got the best anything because it's all been done before, man.
So Jody Threat wins over Luna Dane, whatever her name is.
Who cares? They suck.
And you know what makes it even worse? Like, as I'm looking at it,
So what happened with Bully tonight? He came out, talked shit. Anything happened?
Him and Steve Macklin are going to team up to take on the Motor City Machine Guns. I think they said next week.
For the championships?
No, the Motor City Machine Guns aren't champions right now. Right now, it's Ace Austin and Chris Bay.
Ace, okay. Hey, you got New Japan blood in there.
Right now we're having Hendry talking with Santino Marella talking about the fact that Dirty Dongo was the one who ambushed him, and Joe Hendry wants to defend his honor by facing Dirty Dongo at Under Siege. But
I'm going to show you something cool. So I went to Target. Remember yesterday I was showing you the picture of, not even the picture, on the screen I brought the Switch, and I was holding the Switch?
Yes.
Now, I bought that Switch from a Target. Do you know who I ran into at Target while I was buying that Switch?
Joe Hendry.
No.
Bully Ray.
No.
Okay. I lost my 2.
I'm going to just show you. You're going to laugh right now. Small world.
Oh.
How cool is that?
Brian Myers?
Yeah.
Yes. He's actually was on screen about a minute ago.
He was at the same Target that I went to go buy my Switch at, and I see him. I'm like, hey, what the hell are you doing here? Nice
really
guy.
Nice dude.
No, he is a really nice dude. Yeah. He was just there probably doing some figure hunting.
I'm sure he will.
I thought I would share that. I thought that would actually kind of...
I think that's a cool story.
Yeah, impact moment, right? He's an impact guy, and I ran into him literally yesterday.
There's another great example of what we're talking about. Brian Myers, great wrestler. Never understood the... Okay, so first of all, a lot of people...
I already know where you're going with it, and I can already explain it to you. His thing was like an ongoing rip. It wasn't meant to happen the way it happened.
No.
You're talking about like his losing streak?
It happened, like after 3 matches, he was the one who was like, let's keep this going as a joke.
Yes.
Right. No, I was going to say, I didn't understand when he left WWE and he came to Impact. This is a major star on your hands, and they treated him the exact same as WWE. They were like, you're a jobber. And it's like, am I the only one who doesn't see
that damage? Sometimes damage can be irreversible, and like people's perception. And that's the problem. The people that are running Impact, you can clearly see that if they have a feeling about someone, they run with it. So if they think you're a loser, that's how they're going to treat you. That's how they're going to book you. So WWE, in essence, literally handcrafted Impact's perception of certain superstars. One of them happening to be Brian Myers. Although Brian Myers, he's had a lot of wins that don't go talked about. You know, he was a tag team champion.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great run with Zack Ryder. And he's doing his thing, man. I mean, if anything, these guys... Brian Myers might be more responsible for modern day wrestling than he gets credit for. Without Brian Myers, without Creative Pro, without Pat Buck, there's no MJF, there's no Platinum Max Caster, okay? There's no Acclaimed.
I'm gonna say this, and there may be people who would watch other wrestling channels and would go insane. But I know that this fan base, we all listen to each other. If I'm building a company from scratch, and I want to pick people, I'm going to put this guy in here, I'm going to put this guy here, and this guy here. I will sign a Brian Myers before I will sign a Bray Wyatt or a, as much as I like him.
That's actually a great take, man. If you have experience with Myers and what he's done with Creative Pro, which I'm sure you probably have a good idea. Unfortunately, I don't think you live in the New York area, right? Where are you from again?
I live in Texas.
Texas, okay. So you're very far away from Creative Pro. I've been lucky enough that over the last couple of years, I've gone to almost every Creative Pro event. I missed out on many, many years of watching MJF grow up in front of my eyes. I didn't know that this was happening. If I would have known, I would have been there the whole damn time. But just over the last 2 years, you get a glimpse into the way he runs his business, the way he runs his academy.
But
the matches. No, there's no but. He tremendous job.
There is a plus, though.
What's the plus?
You did get a compliment from MJF.
You smell nice. All right.
That's not really a compliment. That's more like a fact. Of course I smell nice. So, and when I'm in my suit like that, I'm not going to go around smelling like shit.
No, I know. I just like...
Now, if I would have sat in the sun for 20 hours and then MJF takes a whiff of me, he might not say I smell so nice. But, you know, shower fresh.
The thing is... So Mick asked this earlier, and this is I thought this was a really good question. He did ask me a couple that I had to be honest with. He was like, "Do you remember watching the first?"
I saw.
Yeah.
First,
no, I'm not that old yet. But
not yet. No, I saw the first In Your House. I've seen them all.
So he asked this. So I'll ask you. Let's say moment and match. You can give one each. One moment, one match. But favorite WrestleMania match and favorite WrestleMania moment?
Favorite WrestleMania match of all time is WrestleMania 13, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret the Hitman Hart, in what was, in my opinion, the greatest wrestling match that's ever taken place. And it's one match that I would tell anybody who's trying to become a wrestler, go and watch that match 10 times. And you'll learn something new each time you watch it if you really pay attention from not just the match, but the way they walk to the ring, the way they look at each other, the way they walk the ring, the move selection, the timing. You can learn a lot from that. WrestleMania moment probably has to be The Rock versus Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
that moment for me was, and normally I would love to say Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, but as the years have gone on, you know, you really appreciate a moment because you didn't really know what you were watching when you're 6 years old watching Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior.
So not that anyone cares, but Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich are fighting the crowd, which, I mean, it's two Impact women. And, I mean, you know, this is another thing about Impact. They love their spots. Like, how many times has Impact pulled the, somebody threw somebody else over the railing spot? Like,
I heard they're going to take a big loss right now. I heard Jordan Grace is out of there.
Yeah, she's going to be a free agent. If I had to put money down, I think she's going to go to AEW.
Probably for the creative.
Yeah, I think it's going to complement her style better, but at the same time, I don't know because you got to remember her husband is Jonathan Gresham, and Jonathan Gresham has real issues with AEW, so he may convince her.
No, you might see her just straight up show up on the main roster, man. I would save her for like the Women's Rumble, or maybe You know what would be nice? Women's Money in the Bank surprise of contender.
Yes.
She just comes out. Kind of like what they did last year. We all knew it was going to be Theory, but they didn't confirm it. But then the last mystery opponent was Theory. And then he wins.
You know what? If we get another mystery this year, this will not happen. But a man is allowed to dream, right, Savage?
Yes.
We can dream.
That's all we have.
We can dream of Savage Kindom be taking over the entire wrestling world. Oh, wait, that's not a dream. That's going to happen. Will happen. But my dream, randomly, just, oh, okay, here's the final competitor. They don't even tell us who it's going to be. It's literally a surprise, like with the Joker at AEW. So imagine this. All of them are out there. They're wondering who the final opponent's going to be. And we hear orchestral music. And the last thing we see is just a guy coming up like this. And it's Will Ospreay. Like, I kid you not.
You'll lose your mind, yeah.
We'll go insane.
A lot of people will. But I wish that would happen because I would love to see the match possibilities that would come out of it. Him and Theory, him and Rollins, him and AJ, him and, I can go on and on, him and Ricochet. But from what I've heard from him, he just loves his lifestyle way too damn much right now.
And I respect that.
I do too, bro. I'm not going to knock it. If he's happy where he is,
and he knows his value.
At the end of the day, bro, you want to do what's going to make you happy. For example, if this Impact Live watch-along is making you happy right now, then you're going to keep doing it. Are you having fun playing with all the different little buttons and shit? And
I am.
You can get, once you really get used to it, you can really see how creative you can get. Because it's literally like you're having your own TV show. You can do whatever you want.
I think between this and the New Japan thing on Mondays, I think I'll really enjoy it. Because what I would like to do and really help people realize is I know people who are like, well, I mean, I already watch Impact, or I already watch AEW, I watch WWE. Why would I watch New Japan? It's just more of the same. No, it's not. New Japan is a completely different style of wrestling than Americans. You
can even start a segment on this show now every week where you spend the first 5-10 minutes or a middle of whatever the hell you want, find some nice slides of New Japan and show people what they're missing.
We'll see, but right now, because I remember, out come the Motor City Machine Guns, and they're taking on Subculture, which is Mark Andrews, and I can't even remember the other dude's name at the moment.
I'm definitely not remember any of these names. It's hard for me, man. Right now, honestly, I got so much shit that I got to do. I got laundry going on downstairs. Usually, I'm not going to lie to you, Thursday's my night that I try to spend, I spend time with my family. And I just try to get extra work done. When my wife goes to bed a little early, but when she goes to bed early, that means I got time. I can go do my laundry.
There's your champions right there. Ace
Those are the champions.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're even helping me with this, I really think this can be tremendous long term if we keep it going, and I can help maybe get you a solid crew in here that enjoy Impact as much.
I love it.
Or maybe we mix it up every week. Maybe get you with somebody new. Maybe we can even get you an actual wrestler to do a watch along with
Mick,
as well.
So to answer your question, Mick, because I see you in here, and I'll throw it up on the screen. I'm gonna say no, and the reason I'm gonna say no is because at the moment, Impact still has a contract with New Japan, and New Japan and Stardom don't really get along that well. I could see it being you've got to pick one or the other. And I don't think that between New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom, they're going to pick Stardom because New Japan Pro Wrestling is known. New Japan Pro Wrestling has shows here in America. So the American audience knows people like I remember thinking
I got to give New Japan a lot of credit, though, because they've really expanded their game over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The fact that they're now doing shows in America, they're going to different countries, and they're trying, man.
Here's the difference between what New Japan does, like AEW does, and WWE does. They let their competitors, even like Ospreay has said he's not interested in living here in America. Oh, which, by the way, before I get to that, real quick, Ospreay said in an interview earlier today he said he is fairly confident that he will work out a new agreement with New Japan.
Yeah, I heard that.
I didn't know if everyone knew that or not, so I thought
I had heard about it, but that makes sense because he's just so. From the interviews I've heard several times, he always keeps saying the same thing. He's ecstatic with the lifestyle he has right now.
So back to what I was saying though. Like, here's the problem. Vince. Now Triple H is better about this, but Vince goes, Will Ospreay. Who's Will Ospreay? Yeah, no, he doesn't matter. Meanwhile, they didn't even announce he was gonna be there. And when I remember watching this at the end of when FTR was talking that night, when Will Ospreay's music hit, everyone in that arena popped. Everyone knew who Will Ospreay was. And that's the thing. The hardcore fans like me and you may not get time to watch New Japan, but you still know who the people are because you research it. The problem, I think, is Vince. I don't think Vince does any research on people outside of his own company.
But do you blame him? No. First of all, he's 73 years old, or 77, whatever he is. He sleeps maybe 3-4 hours a night tops.
Yeah.
He has a very vigorous schedule. And, let me just say this, and then I'm gonna leave for a little bit because I got to go take care of some stuff. But try to think in the perspective of a billionaire. You're a billionaire, right? You wake up tomorrow. You're a billionaire. You want to stay a billionaire. Mm-hmm. You have a vigorous schedule. Emails, phone calls, meetings. You have to be at the gym. You have to do this. You have to eat, shit, sleep. You got to find time to keep all your sponsors happy. You got to find time to keep the board happy. Come up with new. It's and not. My point is this. It's not easy.
No, I agree. And this is why it always struck me as so weird that he held on to creative for so long. Yes, I understand you got to have Triple H learn the ropes, but like Triple H learned them pretty quickly. And I was like, man, if you even gave him, let's say, even a third of your duties, it would be easier on you. You wouldn't have to have only 2 hours of sleep. So now that now there's all these rumors, and I don't think they're true, but now there's all these
Vince
rumors.
Vince didn't let go, man, because this is like you got to understand. It's like if you have a baby, you're gonna protect that baby with everything in your being, all everything you have, and that's how Vince looks at the WWE, WWF. He doesn't look at it as a company. It's Stephanie, it's Shane, and it's WWE. Those are his babies. You know what I mean? Those are his kids.
I had a friend who said, I'm never going to be one of those guys who has kids. I'm never going to care about it. His wife got pregnant. They didn't know about it till, a couple months later. I said, oh, so you're still not going to have kids? And he said, anyone touches my kid. He goes, it's not even born yet. Anyone touches my kid, and I will rip their freaking head off. And I'm like, and that's my point.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. You have a family, and it changes you.
Vince is that kind of guy. He's just very emotional, very invested, and maybe too invested. And that's probably what we've seen over the last couple of years is he little by little, he let go of the reins a little bit. But here's the thing. In 20 years, people are going to be complaining about Triple H the way we're complaining about Vince.
Of course we are.
Because that's just what happens with time. Triple H is going to get older. He's going to not be in the loop as much anymore.
That's what we humans do. We love to shit on whoever the guy at the moment is that they present to us, and they go, see everything wrong. It's his fault.
It's the number one rule in life, Travis, and as long as you remember it, everything will be okay. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to make everyone happy.
Absolutely.
And as long as you remember that, and not let it bother you and just go like that when anybody says something that's negative, that's their opinion.
Gianna,
they're entitled to it.
So, Gianna, I'm going to agree with you, first of all. I do think that this is better than NXT.
I can't agree with that because I haven't watched it, but
however, I will say this, something you have to keep in mind. Remember, even though they're an indie, Impact Wrestling is an established superstar place. NXT is a developmental brand.
Exactly.
You're still learning.
Exactly. Here's what I'll say in defense of NXT. NXT has Tiffany Stratton. Impact does not. Therefore, NXT is better. I'm going to let Travis do his thing.
And
He's
Tony.
Been killing it.
Don't forget Tony D'Angelo.
All right, I do love Tony, but he's locked up right now, so we can't. He's locked up. You can't. They don't count as locked up. Big shout out to Gianna Forever, Mick Thomas, and Johannes, and Travis, who's been absolutely killing it tonight. Stick around with him as he closes down.
I was worried I was going to be terrible.
No, you've been fantastic, man. I see
Wow.
good things coming from all this. I'm very happy for you. I think you were born for this. I think you're a natural, and you're just going to get better and better and better and better and better. You might even have to fucking retire me one day. I'll be back in a little bit to help you close down this show, but keep killing it, man.
Sounds good. You go take care of what you need. So, back to what you were saying, Gianna, about this is better than NXT. I feel like NXT, again, it's a developmental brand. A lot of these people, and this is where you get some of the problem with NXT, is sometimes you have people who are your Adam Coles, who they didn't need to ever be in NXT. Cole should have gone straight to the main freaking roster the second he arrived. If AJ was going straight to the main roster, Cole should have gone straight to the main roster. But with that being said, it made people forget NXT is a developmental brand. It's meant for people who don't have it all figured out yet. So Impact is meant for people who were, maybe huge stars, but weren't quite ready to be on the main stage. And I just don't know. I think Impact is, and Impact's had some really good stuff. I think they've made some stars. I think that there's a very good chance that one day we see Moose in either AEW or WWE. Like I said, the thing about Impact, got to be either the start of your career or the end. It can't be in the middle point, because if it's in the middle point, people are going to look at it and go, "Oh, well, that dude stagnated." My opinion, but my opinion must be worth something. So right now we've got Subculture, Mark Andrews, and I want to say Jason Everett, I think it is. I could be way off on that, though. But they're taking on Motor City Machine Guns. And it's been a really good match. Now, Gianna, let me ask you this. I'm curious on this. Why do you say we'll never see Moose in WWE? Is there something particular about him that sticks out that you think conflicts with the WWE style, or is it just a gut feeling? Oh, Shelly with a beautiful double DDT. He's missing something. Okay, I can sort of agree with that. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't huge on Moose until the whole feud with him and Joe Hendry, that Dreamcast stuff, and knowing that the Dreamcast and the him acting like he was at a strip club or whatever, knowing that Moose was the one. Yes, okay, I'll agree with you. He does not speak that well on the mic. However, Brock Lesnar, not that good on the mic. Braun Breaker, kind of on the mic. I agree with you. I think he would need a mouthpiece, but at the same time, I think that could work in his favor. You could book him as that big, dominant monster that doesn't say much with the kind of, the whiny little heater. I mean, I think that's why it's worked so well for Brock and I'm not real big on Breaker, to be honest. I like him better. He's getting better as a heel. I will give him that. But I think the reason I wasn't big on Breaker for a while was they kind of just presented him as, oh, look, he's the new Steiner. And it was like, okay, but there's got to be more to his character than just he's another Steiner. And since turning him heel, I think they've shown us that other side. But I think that... Gianna, let me ask you this. Well, first let me give you my answer, which is yes. And then... what is my reading tonight? What do you mean? I'm sorry, Mick. I don't understand that. What is my reading on the show, like its rating? Okay, sorry. So Gianna, back to my question. So my answer is yes, and I'll tell you my reason once I hear yours. Do you think Braun is ready for the main roster? Like right now? It's a commercial break, so, no rush, but whenever you want to answer, I'll be happy to tell you my answer and why I think what I think. If you mean what is my rating for tonight's show, Mick, I'm going to give it a solid B+. I think it's been a good show. And I'll have to give okay, Gianna. Okay. I like your pitch. I will tell you mine. Reverse side. I think he should come in. I don't know if he'll win. I think he should win. I think he's ready for it. But I think he should come in, and I think he should be the first to challenge, and possibly even, well, not the first, but I think he should come in, and I think he should be one of, and possibly even win the World Heavyweight title from Seth. I know we just put it on Seth, but here's the thing. In this business, you got to be thinking 4, 5, 6 steps ahead. And Seth is going to be filming in the near future for the Captain America movie. So are we just not going to have him defend it for the 4 or 5 months he's filming that? I don't think we should do that. I think we should have him drop the title to I think we should have him drop the title to Braun. I think Braun is absolutely ready for the main roster. I think that Braun has been ready for the main roster. I think that turning him heel is good. It showed more character development to me. But from an athletic standpoint, from a does he understand this business standpoint, I think he has been ready since, I'm going to say, probably the Joe Gacy feud. And I think a large part of it's going to have to be with who does he listen to. He reminds me kind of at times of Randy Orton. I know that's a weird comparison, but I think that he kind of reminds me of like this guy who he needs to be listening to the right people. But as long as he's listening to the right people, I see no reason why this time next year we go, Braun Breaker is your world heavyweight champion. I don't see any reason not to do it. There are some people who are just born for this business, and I think he was born for it. I think I don't know. And if it is true, there was a rumor. A lot of people are like, well, why hasn't he been called up yet? They've been talking about it for a while. There's a rumor that it was because of the comments his uncle made. And if that is true, we're not going to get into what comments his uncle made. How do I feel about it? Blah, blah, blah. But if that is true, that is not correct or appropriate in my opinion, because Braun himself did not say it. He should not be penalized for what somebody else said, in my opinion. I'm not sure what you're saying no to, Mick. I'm trying to remember, but it's fragmented up here. So Gianna, let me ask you this. Do you think Waller was ready for the main roster? I say he was. I like pie too. I love chocolate pie. I love lemon pie. And in fact, according to my doctor, I might love pie a little too much. Yes, you do think Grayson was ready. Okay, I agree with you. And I think the fact that they threw him into a feud, or what looks like it's going to be a feud, with AJ as his first feud on the main roster, I think that proves that they have faith in him. I think that proves that you recognize that he could be a huge talent. Whaler. I don't know if that was just a mistypo or what it was, so that was funny. Because, yeah, his character is almost like that town crier Whaler guy where you're like, ugh. Yes, right there. Yes. JD and McDonough in Judgment Day. I immediately said, as soon as they drafted him to Raw, I was like, he needs to be in Judgment Day. And the reason why, we've already seen that Judgment Day hierarchy is based off of how you perform. So in my opinion, I think if he doesn't perform well, if Balor continues to keep losing, I think what they need to do is they need to go, this isn't working. Let's kick Balor out. And let's have JD McDonough come in. And then you have Balor being turned back as a face. And his whole reasoning would be, my student decided he was ready to usurp the master. And I just feel like that's one of the old storylines that, yes, it's an old storyline, but it works. Oh, okay. I don't recognize his partner, Mick. I don't know why, but he's just not ringing any bells to me at the moment. Yes, Gianna, exactly. That. Same way that Balor took out Edge, it should be done by McDonough to Balor so that we get a reminder that in Judgment Day, it's not about seniority. It's not about, oh, I've had this experience and I've been here longer. It's about what have you done for the group lately. I still think, and you can comment on it as you want to if I think what you think, I still think that having Balor lose at Mania was the wrong decision. And there are people who are like, oh, that was one of Edge's contracted matches. He was never going to lose that. Okay, maybe he never was going to lose it. But it doesn't change the fact that Balor should have won. I don't see how Balor losing benefited anyone. Yes, he is. Damian Priest is, well, when I said the longest member, what I meant here is the longest, Balor has been doing this longer than Priest. Hold on, give me 1 sec, I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. 1 sec.
I'll be right back, but I'm still here, and we're closing off Impact. And if you've been watching, we appreciate you watching, Ricky. Thank you for keeping him company. I'm going to hit you up soon. For now, though, what can I do? I guess I'll show you some clips.
Savage, you're live at the battlefield. I have a wrestling match tonight, and I'm going to take that tub of lard, Danger Jameson, the #1 pro wrestler. Fathers, lock your daughters up. V. Marino is headed to Florida. And I have come here to make BPW the best that it could possibly be.
Sexiest man in pro wrestling today. What do you have planned for Snitsky?
Snitsky! I'm coming for you!
Right, baby. The heart and soul of BPW.
And I want my revenge.
Ox, can I get a question with you? I'm sorry.
That I'm going to get him for the 1, 2, 3.
I got nothing but superstar potential here.
Battlefield, we are taking over.
Well, you know what, Savage? The baddest in the game here tonight.
Listen, you got primetime heat right here. The GOATs of this game.
It is Memorial Day, Sav. We're going to have some burgers. We're going to have some hot dogs.
So, big things coming.
Battlefield with Tiara James making her debut live on pay-per-view. This is the content. This is what we're here for. Yo. Savage versus Bull James. I might lose right now. He might break my arm. Maybe. You're Bull fucking James, baby.
From NXT.
From NXT.
You're welcome.
Clarify that shit. Okay, here we go.
Oh, no, fuck you, dude.
Ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, go.
You can't do this.
Why not? That's Bull James taking now.
Sorry, guys. My mom was calling. She told me so the neighbor's dog got out, and I had to go run and chase it down. So it's like,
all right, that sounds like a good time. Does Impact usually end at 10 o'clock, or do they go over a little bit?
it's over right now. Actually, the Motor City Machine Guns won, and that's it. Next up is New Japan, which I'll watch. I'm not necessarily saying like we have to keep the show going. I'm just saying I'll watch it.
If you want, but we could turn this into Impact / New Japan if that's what you want.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea because since they're done on the same night, I think that'd be a good idea. Which I'm really excited for tonight's main event on Impact because on New Japan. Tonight's main event is Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Will Ospreay, and that should be a phenomenal match.
I am working as we speak right now on the updated little banner there. So we can have Impact logo and New Japan logo, because why not? Why not? If you want to do both, I'm not going to stop you. I am going to play Legend of Zelda here in a minute.
Go for
it. You know it.
I mean, as long as you don't. The only complaint I will make against New Japan Pro Wrestling that they've made in the last 3 months, for me personally, I do not feel like putting the title on the Omega was the right decision. It's Access TV, same as Impact Wrestling. They're on the same channel, Gianna. Sorry, I'm gonna my Kingpin sign because huge Will Ospreay fan. Will Ospreay, I feel like, is one of the people who's fleshed out his character the best because he went from this whiny little "yay, everybody root for me" face to a phenomenal heel.
Well, look at that. What does that say now? New Japan right at the top, baby.
New Japan.
That's an Impact and New Japan watch along.
Yeah. So the reason I'll say that I think it was so important to clarify that Will Ospreay became a phenomenal heel, and he's a high flyer. You don't see a lot of high flyers that are heels. For whatever reason, they're usually faces. And New Japan Forbidden Door 2, Savage.
Forbidden Door 2.
What match would you like to see?
I would like to see Will Ospreay versus MJF.
I would love to see that. Not necessarily for a title, but just
an exhibition.
Good match? Absolutely. That's actually what I was going to pitch was same web pitch. Same wavelength.
So we're on the same page. We're on the same page. I'm trying to see if they show I'm trying to see what matches are on tonight. Do they announce the matches?
Will Ospreay versus I think it's actually technically reruns right now.
Okay.
Here in America, because how they do is their events and then we get it like 3 or 4 weeks later. So we've got Will Ospreay versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale, and I think I don't remember who, but Lance Archer versus somebody. But again, yes, New Japan Dominion this Sunday morning, 3 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm not sure what that is here in Texas. I think that's like 6 a.m., so I'll probably still be asleep. But once the results are in, it's up to Savage. But I mean, I'll happily go through them and, here's what the result was, here's what's that. I think for me personally...
What's going on, Steven?
I think Lance Archer was the biggest mistake AEW made. Like, I understand why they put the strap on Cody, but at the same time, I'm like, you should have put it on Lance Archer. Lance Archer should have been a champion in that company. I don't know that I would have made him world champion over someone like Hangman Page, because in my opinion, Hangman Page busted his ass off to get to that status. I knew people who, coming into AEW, they were like, who's this Hangman Adam Page guy? He's just some random mid-carder, right? And it was like, At that time, yes. But now, I'll tell you what match I will not book. Savage at Forbidden Door 2. John Moxley versus anyone. John Moxley versus a broom. I won't book it. I'm sorry. I am sick to death of seeing John Moxley. I think he needs to go away for a little while.
I've been saying he needs to take a vacation for a hot minute now, but what are we gonna do?
Because here's the thing. There's two things that come to the top of my head. Number one, and y'all can weigh in, chat. I'm gonna get a little blue here, not too bad, but a little bit. You watched, I'm assuming, Savage, you watched the media scrum with MJF, right?
Yes.
Best thing that whole weekend for me was when that reporter asked him, well, would you face John Moxley again? And he was like, why would I want to roll around in John Moxley's blood for 4
Yeah, no, he's always money on the scrums, man.
Always. But the thing that made that so good to me was it's like what people don't understand is MJF is one of the last, in my opinion, he is one of the last wrestlers who still believes in kayfabe. He doesn't go out to dinner. He doesn't have dinner with, I'm trying to think of who it faces. He doesn't have dinner with Jack Perry because he's like, no, I'm a heel. I'm not supposed to do that. And I think a lot of them, I'll never forget this. I remember this. I remember watching this. I remember watching a house show. And I remember this. It was the first show I ever went to. First wrestling show. I had to save up for it. But it was the Slammiversary here in Dallas, Texas. And I remember at that match, James Storm was, up in the face of the Dallas Cowboys, drinking beer, throwing it in their face. You Cowboys suck. You can't win anything. And, getting people very, very pissed off and angry. And then I remember going somewhere later that night, just chilling out. And there he is at a table with the Cowboys drinking beer. Now, I understand it's two different sports, but you cannot be cussing out someone, calling them every name in the book, throwing beer at them like you're a heel, and then the next moment just be having a casual dinner.
I know.
Has to be protected.
Kayfabe is only protected in certain territories nowadays. It's not like it used to be. I mean, modern example, Undertaker. When Undertaker stopped doing it, a lot of people just said, okay, I guess it's official. So I'm going to show you something I'm working on right now. I'm not going to finish it tonight, but I just wanted to get it going. So this way, because since it's, it's hard to get slides right now probably on
New Japan,
New Japan matches, but we could do something like this. Let me show you what I just did.
Okay.
This way, worst case scenario, you don't have, let me see. Did it save? It takes a while.
I always hate that tag team name, by the way. They're great wrestlers, but ABC, because Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and the Bullet Club, ABC, and I'm like, just seems lazy, but, whatever.
No, trust me, I get it. All right, it's not letting me upload it yet because some stupidity, but what I'll do is I'll just share the screen, and you'll get an idea what the hell I'm talking about. So I'm working on a slideshow for New Japan, all right? Mm-hmm. So instead of being, you won't have the matches, but you can have slides of each superstar. So, for example, him,
that's a good idea.
Watch on Fight, you got Kenny, this guy. So I'll work on a bunch of multiple slides, so at least what you could do is you can introduce everybody to the characters as they're having matches, whether it's a replay
I think
or
that's
live
a good
or whatever
idea.
it is.
Well, I think
something.
I think that's a good idea because, here in America, we go, this guy attacked Orange Cassidy from behind with a chair, so he's a heel. In Japan, what they do is they go, okay, this guy, like here's the thing. Tetsuya Naito is incredibly loved, and he's technically a heel. The reason he's so over is because he's got this, okay, so you know how AEW has that group, and this is partially at the group and partially at you, Savage. There's the group called La Faction, right?
Yes.
La Faction Ingobernable.
Great faction.
Yes. So New Japan has a version of it led by Tetsuya Naito called La Faction de Los Ingobernables de Japan. And him and La Sombra, Andrade, had a match in Mexico, and that's how he came up with this whole, tranquilo and, the Mexican style of wrestling, and incorporated it into his Japanese style. And he said, I got a call from Andrade, and he said, I thought for sure Andrade's going to be like, oh man, you used my stuff without permission, you're in trouble. He said, so Andrade is the one who pitched to me, hey, what do you think of us doing a Los Ingobernables de Japan? Like, Los Ingobernables has factions all over the world. And I was like, see, that right there, to me, that is the kind of genius that should be rewarded in this industry. Not, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to get in trouble for this, maybe, talking about this. But everyone wants to talk about the all-out, the brawl-out, the famous brawl-out. The Omega and the Young Bucks have them going at and they hated each other. Why does nobody talk about the fact that Sammy Guevara walked in like a prissy little girl, told Andrade, nobody wants you here, get the hell out, go back and be with your whore wife?
They talked about it. They just didn't make a big deal about it, but I don't know exactly why it didn't get the same kind of coverage. I find it funny that Sammy even did that, because when you watch All Access and you see the way Sammy talks to Tony Khan, he's like scared of Tony Khan, but yet he can talk to Andrade like that.
Well, that's because I think
I might have been a little.
Sammy,
my point is, I
signs the paycheck.
Maybe, or maybe that story just might have been a little embellished, a little more than what it was. You know what I mean?
So Kenny Omega, we've got Kenny Omega. I don't need to explain who that is. If you don't know who Kenny Omega is, you're living under a rock.
Well, yeah, definitely.
David,
well, listen, I'm getting out of here. The only thing I got to ask you is in the top right of your screen, do you see a thing that says end broadcast?
Top right. No, I see stream this to your audience, but not end.
All the way at the top right for the StreamYards?
No.
All right, so it won't let you end the broadcast. Yep. So when does New Japan end? 11 o'clock?
Yeah, about an hour from now.
All right, we're gonna figure out the details. We're gonna work out a lot of things over the next week. I'm gonna work on some more slides for you. I might even give you administrator access, so that would allow you to be able to end the broadcast or start your own broadcast, and I'll go over some more stuff with you. We're gonna work out the details.
I gotta ask. I know you said you're busy. Do you need somebody to cover SmackDown for you tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Sure, I'll do that too. I'm happy to do it.
SmackDown, I might end up watching that with you.
Awesome.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to get all my shit done. If I don't watch the first hour, I'll probably watch the main event. But SmackDown's been not. What can I say? SmackDown's been can't miss lately. It's been very good.
Everyone always says Raw's the flagship show, and it may very well be. But for me...
No, well, for me, Raw's still the flagship show, no question asked. But it doesn't mean that the product...
I'd rather watch SmackDown, though.
Right now, SmackDown, for a 2-hour show, I think they're killing it right now. Great matches, great feuds, great roster, good storytelling.
Even my WWE game, I'm like, when they are like, in the WWE game, when you play a free agent, they're like, which brand do you want to go to? NXT, Raw, or SmackDown? I'm like, I'm going SmackDown.
Well, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff over the next week, especially with the video game stuff. Because what we could do, too, with the video game stuff is, I don't know if you're into that kind of stuff, but you could do simulations for pay-per-views on the video game. You could do simulations for Money in the Bank. As a matter of fact, you could even create your own Savage Kingdom roster, and have a draft between you and the audience, or... There's a billion different fucking ideas.
We'll have to figure it out, but
We will figure it out. So... Go ahead, keep killing this New Japan. I'll be back here at 11. You can just feel free to dip at 11.
You know what? Can you give me like 2 minutes? I need to go take the sleep medicine I take every night.
Go for it, man.
And then I'll be right back, and I'll
it.
take over.
No problem, man. So he's gonna be right back. He's got to take that sleep medicine, otherwise he'll be up all fucking night. He doesn't need that. He needs to go to bed at 11 o'clock. I'm still here. I am not watching New Japan. I am not watching Impact. But that's what this is about. This is about me finding new people that I can bring into the Savage Kingdom that can help me cover professional wrestling, help me cover Impact, help me cover New Japan, help me cover the nights that I can't. Like, I can't do SmackDown. All right, so we're bringing Travis back in. So, Travis, the only thing we're going to tell you is we want to get you situated with a nice camera so that this way when you have to leave, you don't have to shake that laptop or this or that. The best thing to do is when you have to excuse yourself, you should just play a trailer. Like, you could play the Wrestling with Savage trailer, or you could play like one of the interviews on there. You could play me with MJF's mom.
That was Mike Bailey, but
that was Mike Bailey. Yeah. I said Mike Bailey, but it got muted because I hit the video. Whenever you hit a video, the audio gets muted completely.
Mike Bailey versus MJF is a match I'd like to see too.
I like to see Mike Bailey versus anyone. I love Mike Bailey. I think
I'd like to see MJF versus anyone as well. So.
But the point is, you should just excuse yourself and then either remove yourself from the screen like that, or just play a video. So this way we don't have to see this. I'll be right back, guys. Hold on.
Okay. So, yeah, sorry. Still learning things.
100%. No worries. Like I said, you've been fucking killing it. I'm sure we're going to continue to kill it. Tomorrow night, it's official. We will cover SmackDown. Travis will cover SmackDown. I will try my best to actually be here and watch it and enjoy it. And what we can do, I think, would be when we do the combo shows where like I'm on the whole show, we could have some good chemistry, man, because I like to do kind of play-by-play on the matches. So while I do the play-by-play, you can be the guy with all the insights and opinions and ask the questions. And, I'll do the play-by-play, and then you could be like the other guy. So usually whenever you watch color commentary, Michael Graves, for example, Graves and Kevin Patrick. Graves is more of like the play-by-play guy. And then, Kevin is the guy that just has like all the intelligent quotes. And
as long as you're not making me Saxton, I'm fine with it.
No, you're not Saxton. No, you fuck it. I'll be Jim
It's
Ross.
Funny, isn't it? It's funny, isn't it, man? Even the wrestling community gives Saxton shit.
Oh, poor Saxton, man. He I don't know. Can you blame them?
He works that hard to be. He works really hard to come across as nerdy, though. So
he does. He used to be a wrestler, man, but it didn't pan out. So I'll be back at 11
Graves
o'clock.
was the one that used to be a wrestler.
Saxton was a wrestler too back in the.
Really?
He started off as a wrestler. Yeah, 100%. He started off as a wrestler.
Oh,
Corey Graves, thank God he found his niche, because he was a hell of a guy too in NXT. If you watch his original NXT work, he was awesome. There was one point where I was like, Graves
NXT
could be a guy.
Has made so many things that make me scratch my head. Like what? Like, okay, we're gonna release this guy. He's never gonna go anywhere. Solomon Crow, and I'm like, that's Sammy Callahan. You release Sammy Callahan, you absolute idiots. Although
you don't always know what you have when you have so much. That's the problem.
And I don't know that he ever would have fit.
It's like having a bucket of gold, and you're walking along, or not even walking along. Imagine trying to carry a bucket of gold climbing Mount Everest. You're bound to drop a few nuggets of gold along the way.
I heard you say climbing, and I was against it.
Yeah, well, I don't want to climb either. I'm out of here. I'll be back at 11. You kill it, New Japan, and we'll talk again Monday night. Not Monday night, tomorrow night, Friday night. I'll be back here to close the show, but when I come back to literally close the show, I'm going to come back. I'm going to say peace, great job. I'm going to play this intro, and that will be the end of the show. But for now, everybody hang out with Travis. He's going to continue to break down New Japan for you. A lot of new things coming to this channel. So kill it, Travis. I'll be back.
Okay. I will do. So what Ospreay just went for his hidden blade against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Tanahashi countered it and hit him in the eye and is now working on Ospreay's leg. Setting up for the dragon screw, which of course Ospreay is, like he always does, selling phenomenally because Ospreay is one of the absolute best sellers in this business today. It's part of the reason why I'd like to see him and MJF work a match together. Both of them are very good at selling. I enjoy New Japan a lot. I think New Japan is great. They make mistakes every now and then. I still don't think putting the belt on Omega was the right decision. Unless they're going to do it Forbidden Door 2, they're going to do Ospreay versus Omega 2. Which of course will largely depend on if Ospreay gets his contract renewed. So let me start by saying this. So for those of you who don't know, that's Kenny Omega, obviously. David Finlay is the current leader of Bullet Club. He is the son of I don't remember if he's part of the WWE Hall of Fame or not, but he's the son of Finlay, who, if he's not in the Hall of Fame, he should be in the Hall of Fame. So he is the leader of Bullet Club. At the last major pay-per-view, which was, I want to say, it was not Wrestle Kingdom. I want to say it was Night of Dontaku. But Finlay, so Kingston beat Jay White. So the agreement was that if Jay White lost, he was out of New Japan for good. He was gone. Couldn't be in New Japan anymore. So Jay White lost. Jay White went to talk to the fans, and before he could even speak, Finlay blasted him from behind and took over control of Bullet Club. Now, why this is confusing to me is because now in AEW, you have, Jay White's leading Bullet Club Gold. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, but wait. The whole thing was that Finlay took him out of Bullet Club. So this is undoing all that. So it's just confusing. These two, particularly this one, Hiromu Takahashi, the Time Bomb. He is okay. So for those of you who don't watch New Japan, you may not know this. New Japan has what's called the Super Junior Heavyweight Champion. They have an event every year called the Best of the Super Junior Heavyweights. Hiromu Takahashi is the first ever 3-time winner of this tournament. He is absolutely phenomenal. He is one of the very best wrestlers I've ever seen. And so the Super Junior Heavyweights is the equivalent of the Cruiser division. Basically, if you're over 210, you can't be part of this. Hiromu Takahashi he's really good. He's got a great gimmick. I think it resonates with a lot of people in Japan. I think that's Kenta he's facing, but I can't really tell from that angle. Here you have Sonata, who, honestly, Sonata is one of the best ring technicians in the world right now. Right now, people say, oh, ring technicians, you're talking Daniel Bryan, you're talking Zack Sabre Jr. I think Sonata should be in that conversation. He's maybe not as well known as them, but he's really good. Sonata is really good, and I think if I remember correctly, yes, he is. Sonata is the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. He got it, I want to say, from Okada, who I think he beat at the last pay-per-view. But he's really talented. He's really good. I think he's got a good, methodic wrestling pace. And, the thing is that you have to realize in wrestling, and I'm sure anyone who's watching this does, you cannot expect a Paul White, Big Show, whatever you want to call him, and an MJF to wrestle the same. That's not how this business works. You're never going to have MJF doing the same moves that Paul White is. It's just not going to work. But the thing I've really liked about Sonata is he's found a style that makes it to where he can be good, methodic, break him down with any opponent. He's done it on people bigger than him, smaller than him, same size as him, 20 pounds more than him, 20 pounds less than him. He's just found a style that works for him. And I think that's going to go a very long way. I think the biggest thing about New Japan right now that's making me say we need to talk more about them is they're really expanding. There are people who 2 years ago had never heard of New Japan, and now they're going and having great matches here in America. And I think that's really broadened people's eyes. And I think you have phenomenal talents like Will Ospreay, who entire groups of people are calling Will Ospreay the best high flyer in the world today. And the fact that these people are becoming... Will Ospreay's only had, I think, 4 matches here in America, and he literally was in Sports Illustrated's top 100 wrestlers, I think, last year. And it's like, for a guy who's only had 4 matches here in America to be in an American magazine as a top 100 wrestlers, that's really impressive. That is the kind of stuff that like so. And I don't know who here other than me watches it. Who watches NXT? Anyone? Well, I guess I might be the only one here because I might be the only one here, period. But I'll talk like there are other people here. So NXT, Baron Corbin. I read a great article the other day where Baron Corbin said if he had to choose between winning every title, and this was before WrestleMania. He said if he had to choose between winning every title in WWE or having a protected finisher in the end of days that people did not kick out of, he would have taken I don't have people kicking out of my finisher. He would have rather had that than held every championship. I think you have people like Ospreay who are like, yeah, I've held the championship 3 times. That's great. But guess what? PW Insider named me one of the top 100 wrestlers last year. I think, like, to him, I think that accolade almost matters more than a title does, as weird as that sounds. Because it's not like he wins that and he gets $5,000 from winning it. No. I just think some people realize that it's like, yeah, okay, a title is proof that the industry likes you and respects you, and that your boss does. Winning top 100 wrestler, which I think he placed number 6, if I remember correctly, that shows that the fans like and respect you and they appreciate your work. And I think that given the choice between having the fans like and respect you and having the boss like and respect you, and it's gonna vary from wrestler to wrestler, of course, but some would prefer that, and then others would. Now, by the way, the Cody cutter, the cutter that Cody does, that is in my opinion, pale imitation of the cutter that Ospreay does. Ospreay's Os cutter is much better than the Cody cutter, in my opinion. Will Ospreay getting ready for the hidden blade? Hopefully he hits it. I'm not a big Tanahashi fan, but boom, hidden blade. And now he's going to go for his finisher, Stormbreaker. Yep, got it, Stormbreaker. 1, 2, 3. So Will Ospreay, your winner in the match against Ospreay and Tanahashi at 16 minutes and 44 seconds. Look at that. Look, that's a great example of this. Look at this. I'm not saying that, every match is this way, but 16 minutes and 45 seconds. Sorry, 16 minutes and 44 seconds. That is the average match of a New Japan Pro Wrestling match. Now, you look at the average match for AEW, WWE, you're talking more like between 7 and 10 minutes. The Japanese style of wrestling is just much more heavy conditioning than it is in America. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Japanese wrestling is a lot better than American wrestling. It just means they're two very different animals. I don't know. Because I can't speak for the world. I don't know what history's going to write, but if I'm writing the book, Will Ospreay goes into I don't even know if it's going to be Rev Pro. I don't know if it'll be WWE. I don't know if it'll be AEW. Will Ospreay goes into a Hall of Fame. There's no question in my mind that Will Ospreay goes into a Hall of Fame. He has had amazing match after amazing match after amazing match. He's had it with the likes of Okada. He's had it with the likes of Kenny Omega. He's had it with the likes of Naito. Will Ospreay has been good with pretty much everyone he stepped into the ring with. Would I like to see him in WWE? Yes. Because I'd like to see my dream match of Will Ospreay versus Rey Mysterio. Do I think it's ever going to happen? No. But would I like for it to happen? Absolutely. I would love to see Will Ospreay versus Rey Mysterio. I think that would be a dream match, the likes of which you don't see much anymore. They try so hard to make you think all of it's still around. And I'm going to try and think of a good example here, but let's see, what's a good example? We all remember Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. We all remember the immovable force versus the immovable object versus the... I can't even remember now what it is. I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry, you guys. But that feud at the time was a dream match. People were like, Hogan and Andre, are we ever going to see them in the ring together? New Japan Pro Wrestling loves doing stuff like this. They love going, what's that? We've got Tetsuya Naito and Great Muto wants to have a match against him? Absolutely. Let's have this dream match, because for those of you who don't know, Antonio Inoki was the man who passed away, I think, earlier last year. And he was the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Really, he is the one who was pushing for them to get more and more involved with other companies. AEW, Impact. And the reason he did that, which I really liked his thought, was he said, all of us, we've only got one life here. Who wants to leave a dream match never happening? Who wants to go, well, we could have had this great match of, I'm just using the one that I used earlier, Will Ospreay versus Rey Mysterio. But we didn't. Why? We didn't ever reach out and try and see if we could make it happen or anything. I don't think the Japanese look at things the same way we do on very many things. I love their culture, study it. But one thing that really comes to my mind, they don't like to leave things unanswered. And I like that. I like the fact that they are people who go, if we're going to have a dream match, we have to do it while both guys are still alive. And if we can pick dream matches, everyone in the comments, if you're still here and if you want to, and you're here and you're in the comments, tell me, what is your dream match that you would like to see of wrestlers currently still wrestling? So it can't be, I want to see Bret the Hitman Hart versus Kevin Owens because Bret doesn't wrestle anymore. But current day wrestlers, dream matches. Because I've got so many that I want to see. I want to see Ospreay versus Rollins. I want to see Ospreay versus Ray. Ospreay versus AJ. I want to see AJ versus... I'd like to see AJ versus MJF. I don't think that'll ever happen, but I'd like to see it. But so yeah, if you're here and if you want to, go ahead, leave in the comments. Let me know what your dream match that you would like to see of wrestlers currently still wrestling, what it would be. Just please don't say Goldberg. In comes Mercedes Moné, who, honestly, I think her leaving WWE is the best thing that she could have done. I think that she's really benefited from this career recharge. I think there's a good chance we see her back in... I think there's a good chance we see her back in WWE someday. But I think this little break has been really good for her. I think it's helped her kind of I think she's kind of realized her value. She's realized that I can go somewhere else. I can be a big star in another company and people cheer for me there like they did for me in WWE. And I applaud her for that. I think that that's a good thing. But I think that New Japan Pro Wrestling is doing a lot right. Like any company, they've done a thing or two in the past recently that I haven't agreed with. I didn't like them taking the title belt off of Jay White during the pandemic when he couldn't leave the country he was in. They wouldn't let him travel to New Japan. So they just said, okay, we're just going to take the title off him. That's one of the few times I feel like an interim title would have made some more sense. But there's only so much you can do. They didn't have any idea how long the pandemic was going to last. It could have been 4 months, could have been 40 years. I get it. You can't go 4 years without having your title belt defended, but that just didn't sit right with me for whatever reason. But so right now we're having Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale, and I heard, and I'm pretty sure this was a good match. I think this is the match where Mercedes Moné got injured. But as far as women's wrestling goes, I think Japan is finally starting to realize that there is an audience for this. They've been against it and not into it for a very long time. They've been kind of okay, women's wrestling, great, something to do until the men are ready to go. But I think they're starting to realize that. Women's wrestling, there is a market for it. New Japan is making a lot of changes lately, and I think some of that is just understanding what the audience wants. Look at this. They haven't even touched the Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné haven't even locked up with each other in this match yet. And people are chanting, "This is awesome." 5 years ago in a New Japan Pro Wrestling match, no way do you hear someone then chanting, "This is awesome" for someone that is a female wrestler. Not because the Japanese don't respect women, but because they did not, for a long time, there was not a market for that. Japan is kind of cute and fuzzy and bubbly when it comes to women. They're learning, but there are some women though they have said straight up they will not allow. I think Nyla Rose was pitched as a match, and they said no, Nyla Rose, no. I remember Tessa Blanchard was pitched as a match. They said no because of everything that went on with her, and I think they're great wrestlers who, because of idiotic decisions they made, will never reach the level of stardom they should. One of those, for me, Marty Scurll. Marty Scurll was an absolute great wrestler in the ring. He made a lot of really bad choices. Some we've now found out were true, some we found out weren't true. But he made some bad choices, and because of that, he will not get the opportunity to go down as a Will Ospreay, an MJF, a John Cena, a Stone Cold, a Bret the Hitman Hart, these people that we talk about years later. He won't. And it's sad, because he was a good wrestler. But you have to understand, at the end of the day, people are going to look at both in the ring and outside the ring. And if your outside the ring is bad enough that outweighs your inside the ring, they're not going to want you. Austin Aries, great wrestler. One of the best, in my opinion. One of the all-time absolute best. Now, admittedly, he was wasted in the cruiserweight division in WWE, but I don't like to talk about that part of his career. Absolute best. One of the absolute best in the ring. But he made choices. He said things. He picked fights with producers. He got a reputation for being hard to work with. And all the in-ring skill in the world cannot make up for. I'm hard to work with. I don't get along with people. So, I think it's good. I think it's good that there are a lot of... it's good that New Japan is trying to expand, increase their audience. I think it's going to really help them. I think if we do an AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door 2, I think that thing is going to sell like hotcakes. I mean, that match of Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay, I'm not even an Orange Cassidy fan. And that match was so good, I became an Orange Cassidy fan. Can you imagine what happens if we have a second one now that people know who these people are. Will Ospreay went into the match, and yes, the fans, the wrestling fans, knew who Will Ospreay was. But I have friends, personal friends, who did not know who Will Ospreay is. I guarantee you, partially because I told them to go watch it, but now they know who Will Ospreay is. Forbidden Door 2. If they don't do a Forbidden Door 2, it would be like having an Avengers movie that made 40 billion and going, yeah, but we're not going to do a sequel. We just don't have the entrance. Like, that's just leaving money on the table. I think New Japan, I think it's come a long way. Look at this. You're having a ladies wrestling match, main event, a New Japan Pro Wrestling show. That never would have happened 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago. But there's a lot of things to be going good right now. The two women in the ring right now, Mercedes Moné, Willow Nightingale, two of the absolute best doing it right now. Mercedes is a absolute technician in the ring who I will put up against, I will say she is a female AJ Styles. She's good. I never cared for her character much. I never cared for that cocky, arrogant, I'm the boss, Sasha Banks, that stuff. I didn't care for that part. But her talent is so good. She's so good in the ring. It overshadows anything else. So, if anyone's on here, which I don't know that there is, but if there is anyone on here, what are you hoping to see tomorrow night on SmackDown? Anything in particular? I'll tell you what I want to see. I want to see them lean more into this AJ Styles versus Grayson Waller match. I wonder if I'm the only person that is watching.
Hey, what's up? I'm back.
Hey, what's up? I was explaining, I may be the only person in here, but I was explaining to the audience.
That's going to happen sometimes. Listen, let me be honest with you. You know how many times I've done streams where there's been 0 people watching?
Hey, I mean, I can yak the ears off of a fence. So
No, I mean, I'm saying
yeah.
tonight, for the most part, you had anywhere from like 3 to 6 people watching you at any given time. For your first time on the screen, I'm not here. Everyone watches the show, and they expect to see me. They don't see me, they see you, but they still stick around.
3 to 6 more than I had yesterday.
That says that you are not bad at what you're doing.
I'm glad.
And you're going to get so much better.
I'm glad. You know where, like, we all get our thoughts and inspirations, and I want to be like this from certain places, right? And I remember somebody asked me, they said, who would you, like from an announcer standpoint, color commentary, who would you want as an inspiration? I was like, okay, I've got 2. He's like, okay. I was like, Jeremy Borash was always very good at it. And I said, did you ever watch Lucha Underground? He goes, yes. I said, I think Vampiro was an absolutely phenomenal color commentator. I feel like he had to talk about more than just, okay, here's the power bomb and this, and here's the, it was like you had to make them invest in these people. And what I was explaining on the thing, and again, if nobody's in here, whatever, I like talking about it, period.
That's what it is.
5 years ago, thought process of New Japan Forbidden Door was unheard of. The idea of a woman main eventing a New Japan Pro Wrestling show was unheard of. I love the Japanese, but they are very slow to embrace new ideas. And we are seeing New Japan Pro Wrestling start to embrace new ideas. And I really like that. I think that that's going to serve them in the long run. I think that
they've done nothing but make good decisions lately.
Yeah, they have. They've like launching Strong, a New Japan division dedicated to the American audience. Phenomenal idea.
All right, well, since we're in here, let's finish the last 9 minutes of this shit strong, and let's just get some facts from you. Who is your number 1 favorite wrestler of all time?
Of all time, I am going to say, my opinion, the GOAT, Chris Jericho.
Good answer. What's your Mount Rushmore?
He's been good just all over. I'm sorry, what was the next question?
Mount Rushmore. Just 4. All generations.
All generations, okay. Jericho's on there, obviously. I mentioned him.
And I don't need the explanations because I'm trying to do some quick fire intel.
Right.
I want to just get answers
now that I
from you.
understand, I'll go quicker. So, okay. Jericho, Styles, HBK, and I'm going to say Ospreay.
Wow. Okay. That's a very unique Mount Rushmore. I'm sure there are other people out there that have it, but it's not one that you definitely hear every day. The Jericho, Shawn Michaels, you hear a lot, but to put Ospreay on there, that's ballsy. But it's your opinion. I respect it.
Because I'm looking ahead, I think that in 10, 15 years, we'll talk about Ospreay the way we do about HBK.
Okay. It's a bold statement. Favorite match of all time?
For me personally, I'm going to say, I'm going to go with the same thing you said. Stone Cold versus Bret the Hitman Hart, WrestleMania 13. It was like it was perfect. Moveset, in-ring psychology.
Like I didn't think that was the best match of all time till probably age 27, where I really looked at it again and just was blown away. Like there's some matches that you watch years later and they hit you differently. I'll give you a prime example. I was watching Mick Foley versus Randy Orton. I believe it was or Cactus Jack versus Randy Orton. And I mean, I don't think I truly appreciated that match when it was happening in the moment, because for whatever reason, maybe because you're seeing so much of it at that point, but you watch it back now and it's a masterpiece.
Well, and another thing, and I don't know that this impacted it completely, but another thing is, they say sometimes you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. There is a chance
100%.
we're losing Orton. Orton may be done.
No, 100%. That news bothers me a lot because there was a point in my life where I would say to people that there was a point where I would say Randy Orton was the best wrestler in the world. Multiple times I've said it and had believed it, and he was my favorite at certain times.
His 2009 run, that's got to be up there.
Forget that. his moment in the sun started instantly. Evolution, man. Just the rise. And for me, watching him just beat up legends on Raw. I mean, RKO on Hogan, RKO on Foley, RKO on Undertaker. I mean, bro, like, who gets that kind of run? Like nobody's ever done anything kind of like what Randy
everyone
did.
saw something in him.
100%. 100%. He had a rough go of it for a long time, but eventually he really got his shit together.
And he admits a lot of that was himself. He goes,
100%. But dude, when you're young, you're gonna make mistakes. All right, favorite finisher of all time.
Favorite finisher of all time. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a really weird one.
Oh,
I'm gonna say the Kudo driver, or as it was known over here in Impact, Homicide's Gringo Killer.
Okay.
It looks simple enough. It's literally like you grip them under the arms, you turn them over, you drop them down on their head, and you do it in a way it's protected. But the way it looks, it makes it look like, you know, that famous video where Randy Orton RKO's Rob Van Dam and he just lands on his neck, and you're thinking like, oh my god, like that's how this thing looks every time someone hits it.
Yeah, RVD's on another species. He can be argued for Mount Rushmore. He can be argued for greatest of all time. He can be argued as, like, a lot of people say Shawn Michaels is the best in-ring performer of all time. I think that's a lie. I think Rob Van Dam had
He's up there.
More, in my opinion. RVD didn't have the same kind of matches Shawn had because he wasn't Shawn Michaels. He didn't have WrestleMania moments with Undertaker and stuff like that. But if he would have, my point is this: in the ring, minute for minute, I think Rob in his prime can outperform anybody in their prime.
I agree. I will tell you this. I will tell you my favorite feud in wrestling. For me personally, the level of how real it felt, I think Raven versus Dreamer was one of the absolute best feuds.
It's up there.
Because it was so believable.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like, I'm not going to sit there and lie and say, oh, it was so great. It was good shit. It was good shit. For whatever reason, I don't know why the hardcore stuff, I like it, but it's never been like my specific cup of tea. I'm more born and bred on like the...
I loved hardcore until Moxley took it over.
I don't know. After the Attitude Era, hardcore just didn't have the same meaning.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that's what it is. I mean, maybe I had too much of it, or it was overdone, or, you know, people just try to outdo each other all the time. And it's like, at some point, it's like, I just like to see some wrestling.
The other feud I really liked, and there's a specific reason for this. I liked the Batista versus Edge feud. And the reason I liked that feud was Edge had to think up a new way to beat Batista every time. He couldn't, he was like, we can't repeat the same finish.
And plus, they were both still young at the time, too.
And everyone knew there's no way that if he fights fair, there's no way Edge beats Batista.
So Jay said something yesterday I just wanted to touch on before we close the show. He had mentioned that John Cena never really put over a lot of people. And I think that's a lie, because I think John Cena put over a lot of people. I think he put over CM Punk. I think he put over AJ Styles. I think he put over... shit, man. I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but he put over The Rock twice.
I think he did. I think the problem is he gets flack. He doesn't get credit for putting those people over, and then he gets flack for things where people go like, "Well, you know, he buried the Nexus, and he buried Wade Barrett, and even Cena's like, yeah, I buried."
He put over Alberto Del Rio, bro. He put over a lot of people. The reason he gets flack is because his name's not Hulk Hogan. Because listen, at the end of the day, he did the exact same thing Hulk Hogan do. You know what that is? Simple term.
I've never cared for Hogan.
You don't have to care for Hogan, but he was good at one thing, and you know what that was?
Being selfish?
Doing what he was told. See, everybody wants to talk a lot about being selfish, being this. It's kind of hard to be selfish when you're an employee who works for an employer in a TV show, in a scripted TV show, And everything's outlined to a specific way. And yes, you can add your twist on everything. But at the end of the day, the A's and the Z's of the show are all written by someone else. You are told what to do to the T. Hulk Hogan could wrestle his ass off in Japan. In America, Vince didn't want him to wrestle. He said, go out there, you're going to beat the shit out of him, a couple of punches, big boot, maybe you coke up, come back, leg drop, it's over, we're going home. You're going to do that for the next 10 years. And Vince said, I'm going to make you more money than anyone you're ever going to meet in your life. And all you have to do is what I tell you to do. And you know what Hogan said? You got it, boss. And that, look what happens. Now, Warrior, on the other hand, didn't listen to Vince. Look at the gargantuous difference between Hulk Hogan's career, the amount of money he made, the longevity, because he was a good employee. And that's why I just want to break it down for you tonight. A lot of people never look at it in that aspect. They always just look at it as like a sport. And
say that, it makes a lot of sense. It does. It makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, it's like, it's the boss. The boss. At the end of the day, he's the one signing your paycheck. If he tells you go out there,
these are not real fights,
right? And the thing is, like, let's look at it this way. You know, I don't like CM Punk. I have a massive disdain for CM Punk. But at the end of the day, if I'm working for Tony Khan and he tells me go out there and lay down for CM Punk, I'm going out there and laying down for CM Punk because he's 100%. My boss.
That's right. You signed a contract. And that's just the way it is. My point is this. Hulk Hogan might be a lot of things. A lot of people might hate him. John Cena might be a lot of things. A lot of people might hate him. A lot of people love him. But at the end of the day, those two guys were good employees. They listened to what they were told to do, and they did it to the best of their abilities. And that's why they're both what they are. Absolute icons. Both icons at this point from different eras. Both legends. And both multi-millionaires.
And you look at people to me also who were this, then they changed and became this. And what I'm alluding to is before he had his injury and then came back as a born-again Christian, that HBK, I'm sure the boss hated him. I'm sure he wanted nothing to do with that HBK. But I think when he came back and he changed and all this, they went, okay, now you can still put on the same great matches, but now you're willing to work with other people and listen to what they have to tell you. Awesome.
We should have had WrestleMania 14 to 17 should have all been matches that involved Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart.
I'll agree.
WrestleMania 14 should have been Bret and Stone Cold for the championship. And 15 and 16, they could have ran a program that was godlike for 3 years. But it didn't want to happen because Bret didn't play ball.
So,
Bret, my point. Bret was the one who was not a good employee because he took the shit too serious. And I love Bret. Bret's a great guy. I've met him. I've had multiple conversations with him. He's a great guy. But at that time frame, he was, in my opinion, in a bad place in his head where he took the shit way too much to the heart and couldn't just break it down to the simple fact that this is a can of Coke. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. Just like his description. You're an employee. Mm-hmm. You have a job to do.
So let me ask you this. This is a fun question. If you could go back in time and change any one major event in wrestling, what would you change? And I can tell you what mine is easily.
Probably Stone Cold getting the pile driver from Owen Hart.
Okay, that's a good one. Mine. Here's the funny thing. Mine involves Hart as well.
Actually, no. I take that back. I go back and take Owen Hart from dying. I mean, actually, now that I think, I go back and I change that.
That's a good one. I like that. I was gonna say change event. You can't make it that this person
someone doesn't die. Okay, so I can't change that death.
No, you can't change that, but you can protect. You can protect Stone Cold, like you said.
Then I protect Stone Cold, or I convince Bret to just do what he's told because I think he'll get signed again, and good things are gonna come from it. You're gonna have feuds with Stone Cold.
I think both of those are good. And I'll tell you what mine is, me personally. I go back and I tell Bill you better not freaking hit this super kick on Brett. Don't do it. Because the thing is, and a lot of people...
Are you talking about Goldberg's?
Yes. That's what ended Brett's career.
Well, listen, again, you know what, though? And here's the thing. Nothing against Brett, and I'm not saying that he's not telling the truth or anything like that, but the truth of the matter is this. Brett had a hell of a long career before that kick came anywhere near his head. And the only people who really know what caused that injury are God, Bret Hart, and Goldberg.
I just know that if you listen to the way that, and he's never
It was stiff. Listen, I saw the fucking thing, but who's to say he wasn't already fucked up with some kind of injury?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that if you listen to Brett, and
he's been bitching about that for 30 years,
and Goldberg has never once said, that he's lying, that didn't happen or whatever. But according to Brett, Bill Goldberg never apologized to him, never said I was in the wrong, never anything. And I feel like I'm not saying that Bill Goldberg apologizing would have fixed the problem.
Probably not.
But I'm like, you should have at least been able to own up and go, you know what? I botched that. I messed it up. That's on me.
He should just apologize for his first 62 matches. There was a lot of mistakes made.
He should have just apologized for his career.
I don't blame Goldberg. You know why? It goes back to the same thing. He's an employee doing his job. Now, if the employer did a better job of making sure his employees were properly fucking trained, that wouldn't have happened. So who gets the real blame? Is it Goldberg, the guy who's just happy to have a job? He's listening to what he's being told to do. He's going out there. He doesn't know what he's fucking doing, but he's going to do it anyway because they're telling him to. Or does it go on the people that hire him in the first place?
Here's my thought on this. I'm a WCW employee, right? Not a wrestler and one of their other guys. Okay, so we're going to have this segment where Bill Goldberg is going to super kick Bret Hart. You're going to have a dude that big super kick someone the size of Bret. I don't think this is a good idea, boss. I mean, if you want me to write it, I will, but the guy that big doing
is a new... Imagine you just got the dream job of your life, right? Whatever it is. Your boss comes up to you and says, I need you to do A, B, and C. You're going to have fucking something to say, or you're just going to do what they tell you?
If it's about protecting another human being, I'll say, do you think instead of like a super kick...
Again, that comes into experience.
Right.
Goldberg has no experience at this point in his career. So in his mind, he thinks this is all like these guys are, they're trained to take these kicks. So
do you think
he doesn't
Bill
get it?
Goldberg today wouldn't go, no, I'm not doing that?
Maybe today. Well, again, we're talking about experience. You're asking me after 30 fucking years yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so. Yeah, I hope you learned something in 3 decades. But my point is, at that point, he's too baby green to be accountable for anything in that ring. Because becoming a professional wrestler, to become a real professional wrestler and understand the business and to know everything, it takes time. It could take anywhere from 4 to 7 years to really develop the understanding for every single aspect, from production to in-ring, out-ring, character, dialogue. There's a lot. It's not one thing. Facial expressions, where the camera position is, and then of course working with your partners, your dance partners, and learning how to dance and learning how to tango. Do you think you're going to go master the tango the first time you do it with some random stranger you've never tangoed with before?
Fair enough.
I don't think you will. I know I wouldn't. They put me right now in the tango of some stranger. That shit's going to look like a shit show. We're going to get zeros on Dancing on America or Dancing with the Stars.
Like if you just dropped me into this tonight and said, good luck, I'm not teaching you anything, it may have still worked, but it could have been horrible.
Listen, the point is he's green, beyond green at this point when that happens. So it's hard for me to hold him accountable. Should he have apologized? Just for the sake of being a better person and bigger person, yes, just apologize. The guy was obviously very upset. Maybe you hurt him, maybe you didn't hurt him. You don't know. You're just going based off what Brett's saying, what the doctors are saying. I'm saying there could have been a lot of factors. I don't know.
Worst wrestling pay-per-view.
the day Brett died. Owen. Fucking Owen. Judgment Day or whatever it was called.
From a real life standpoint, absolutely 100% agree with you. Owen Hart's death was tragic. From a booking standpoint,
that one, whatever that was with WCW, where Hogan, Jeff Jarrett laid down for him with Vince Russo. That was just atrocious.
That one was terrible. I was gonna say December to Dismember was pretty terrible.
There was a lot. Listen, there's been a lot of bad pay-per-views over the years. No questions
really,
about
when you
it.
think about it, there's been more bad than good.
It's the same thing like wrestlers. There's been more bad wrestlers than good wrestlers. There's been more unsuccessful wrestlers than successful wrestlers. That's why these top 10 lists are...
Yeah, for every success story, there's 14 that didn't. It's like, we were.
That's in anything. Same thing with basketball. How many basketball players do you think almost could have been?
We were talking about this the other day, and when you said this happened with this wrestler, why was it? When we were talking about the whole Sammy Andrade thing versus the whole CM Punk thing, it's because I related to this. When Tiger Woods cheated on his wife, any other golf player, nobody gives a fuck. It's because he's at the top of his game. Yeah. Why did people complain about CM Punk and Omega? Because they're at the top of their game.
I'll tell you why. Because we talked about this yesterday. The 7 billion people on this planet, the majority of them fucking suck. And they're not good people. And they want to see people fail. Nobody wants to see anybody do better than them consistently.
Nope.
Ever. That's just human nature. It's human nature. We're born to conquer. But, some people are more submissive than others.
What I don't get, because we talked about this today in a different group I'm part of, people want to look at this and go, well, Dead Island 2 sold 3 million copies in its first month, and Hogwarts Legacy sold 13 million, so that's better. It's like, okay, look, 13 million is better than 3 million, but 13 million doesn't invalidate that 3 million.
No, people don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about.
No.
Don't ever listen to that shit, man. People can say a game sucks and then they never even played it.
This is why.
Speaking of video games, I got Legend of Zelda waiting for me, man. We're burning the candles over here. We're going to be back tomorrow night for SmackDown. I'm going to do my best to actually be here and try to do play-by-play on it for the first time in a long time. See what happens tomorrow. Yeah, I think we can kill that shit. Why not? Mix it up a little bit. I like having a mix.
How are you liking it?
Some nights, a late-night talk show, and then other nights, play-by-play with commentary and then different crew members. I'm going to see if we can get some other people on here with you. Try to build a team that can help us.
How are you liking Tears of the Kingdom?
So far, I've only played it for about an hour and 5 minutes.
All right, well, you go play it.
I spent half an hour of it in a dungeon trying to figure out a puzzle that I felt real dumb that I couldn't do fast enough.
That sounds about right for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
All right, you have a good one, man.
Let me go get stuck in another dungeon right now. You've been watching Wrestling with Savage. Thank you, Travis, for helping me out tonight with Impact and New Japan. We'll be on here tomorrow night for SmackDown. Everybody have a good night and take care. Oh, make sure hit that like button, subscribe, share, all that shit. Do it. Nice tipping.
Pedigree, 1, 2, 3, project you live as a champ. A last ride straight to hell, a tombstone, a choke slam. Here to give it to you raw. This is Wrestling with Savage. SmackDown, hold the title. This is Wrestling with Savage. What?
Wrestling with Savage begins now.